What's up, dude?
What up?
What's happening?
We didn't talk at all this time. I snuck in and I actually
Zero.
broke into your little, what's that called? When the sleepover shenanigans. Anyways, I don't have any. It would have been maybe cool if like my brain could work and I had something witty and cool to say, but I'm fumbling all over my shit. So,
I jumped in and Toxic Fumes was ready to go, man. So we were just chatting there for
well, they're
just a
professional.
minute. How you been, buddy?
I've been good, man. I've been good. I've been good. It's been a busy ass fucking day. I was telling you earlier. This ends up being like one of the main only days off, and but then you schedule all the running around in that day. How you been, man?
Samesies, busy.
Samesies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
twinsies on that one. Plugging away, dude. Glad it's Toyzday, that's for sure.
Right.
Um, Dude, I'm gonna say what's up to everybody in here right quick.
Yeah, do it. I triple dog dare you.
5:30, 8-bit Mike Toys. I knew you would be here tonight. Super terrible. What's up, Hobo Toys? Dre, Canadian. Headcase Toys, Von Fake Name, another Canadian. Jazz Wiz, David Dunn, Lynn's the Rat Boy, Stormico, what up? Acid 9. Acid 9 just scheduled, going to be on the show very, very soon. Zimitco, my man, Bliss Receptor, and FKD Toys just made a post today. How about that? Ashley Alvarado, Street Fight. What's up, man? Street Fight, where you been, dude? That guy is probably doing some really cool shit. Fun fake name. He gets around. Right on. Yeah. So, like I was saying, dude, cool episode tonight. It feels like Doc Horror, what's up? It feels like we are way overdue, and we are on having Toxic Fumes on. So that will be a fun convo. Um,
Probably one of the only intelligent things that I remember this one vet telling me one time was that it's okay sometimes if it takes a while because if anything, sometimes it relights that talk. So it's kind of dope. I was even actually kind of thinking about that today. I was thinking about the interviews and stuff like that. And at first, I was kind of like, hot dang, this dude has Dove from DKE and interviewing them in like 2020. They've got Abe over at Yucko Toys / Toys on Tap 2021. I'm like, fuck, what can we ask? And it's like, well, at the same time, 4 years have gone by. I'm sure they've done something beyond just changing their underwear in those 4 years.
For sure. And what's cool, dude, is that obviously it goes back further than the 4 years to some stuff that actually is not even on the current toy page. That was on kind of the personal page. So we'll talk about that, dude, how he got into it. There's some really, really cool stories to be had there. Cool Cat Toyco, what's
Did
up,
you
man?
go creeping their personal page?
I didn't. I thought I was going to find it on the toy page, so I scrolled back as far as I could, and we'll get to it in the interview. But yeah, it definitely stops at a point where it's just strictly toys. I didn't want to be a creep and try to find his personal page and go
Well,
back.
yeah, so from what I understand, they don't merge the two. We'll pull them in. We'll find it all. We'll find it all out. I don't know about you. This might be one of the most homework episodes I've done in a while, man.
Straight up, dude. I mean, you know what I mean? Like notes, right? It's like, you're right, dude. I mean, it's just like I like to have answers, or at least feel like I know what the fuck is going on before somebody comes on. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, dude,
Weird
there's a
one.
lot of information out there, and when you start looking at it, it's a lot of when you listen to the old Toys on Tap and stuff like that, and there's a lot of stuff that is really coming back around now, and a lot of it is, I think, is exactly what I hoped it would turn out to be, is where we say, man, I hope in a couple years down the line, we're going to look back at it and it's going to be like this. Well, Toxic Fumes has been in it long enough now and has been dealing with enough, you know, great artists that he's got some great stories that from back then that we can look at now, where we're just like, holy shit, dude. You know what I mean? Like doing some of your first molds with Lab Monkey 9, like, I mean, few and far between, right?
You did do your homework too.
That crowd, absolutely, I did, dude. I'm doing it. And I'm just like, this fucking guy, dude. Um, but that will be super fun, dude. I know we got some other cool shit the giveaway question this week. It was not toy related, but holy shit, dude.
Giveaway question, but also dope art, man. That's one of those artists that we've pulled up for accounts under 1,000 multiple times. It's so sick to see some of their work over in the States in our little toy community over from fucking Japan, man. Neato.
The giveaway prize that were you talking about?
Yeah.
On the table? Dude, straight up, right? Like, look at this thing. The Death Scream donut right there. That's what we're giving away from visitors on the table, Death Anima Studios. And yeah, dude, they had actually left us a comment on our YouTube page. And I started chatting with them a little bit and found out they were from Japan. I thought that was pretty freaking cool. And they sent us some stuff. They sent you some stuff personally that's coming in your box. And it's, I mean, talk about great people. And you're right, dude. We pulled up their stuff a number of times. I think actually Yuckamuck had a comment that he's been following them for quite some time now. And, you know, it's a great account, dude. And thank you again for sending us the stuff. But yeah, that'll be fun. The question to the thing this week, dude, I don't know. You know, I guess I probably started it on my Instagram page, my personal page. I posted just in my stories, just a sandwich. Vomiting Droids hit me up, and boy, did it snowball out of control right after that, dude. It's been nothing but sandwich talk for the last 2 weeks. Some of the answers in there phenomenal. I mean, right off the bat, Ordinary Toys comes in with knuckle sandwich. Who thought a knuckle sandwich, dude? I was as much blown away at that as when my other buddy came in and he said ice cream sandwich. And I'm like, son of a bitch. We are going to find out what Toxic Fumes top sandwiches are. I do have that written down. I'd like to know that. So,
also, yeah, I don't know what the fuck locks are. I didn't know what half the shit you guys were saying. I was the one answering the giveaway question. I didn't know what half the shit you guys were talking about you put in your gullets. Not a clue.
It was interesting, man. I like that, you know, we have so many viewers from around the world. It's always interesting to see, you know, Vegemite was a big one for those people out in Australia.
I knew there'd be a nasty bastard out there who said Vegemite, man.
More than one.
I saw that, two, you fucking masochists.
On the flip side, dude, and who knows? I've never had it. Maybe it's amazing. I don't know. But there was some other comments in there where I'm just like, holy shit. Some people got really detailed and it was super awesome. We'll get to that later, but first up is Toxic Fumes, and that's going to be a fun one, man. Like I said, way overdue. You know, part of that Toyronto group that is just, the further we get along, we look back on that, we're like, fuck, man. Talk about some heavy hitters in that group, right? Thank you, Dre. Lox's smoked salmon. It's great. Yeah, on a bagel with cream cheese, some capers, dude. All day. All day. Sure, you've had it in Canada a few times, I'm sure. Well, I don't know, dude. I don't think you're a smoked salmon kind of guy.
I've been vegetarian since 4, man. Like I said, I knew none of what half of these things were. A Reuben, I don't know what the fuck a Reuben is. I was on Google trying to see pictures of these things, being like, okay, yeah.
Oh wow, so you did do a lot of homework this week, man. Holy shit. Yeah, if you're not eating meat, and we're talking about sandwiches, boy, you saw some shit this week, didn't you?
All right, enough about sandwiches. You want to pull Toxic Fumes toys in here?
Let's do it, man. Let's get busy. I hope you're staying in for this one. I know you got questions.
I'll bounce in and out. You know how it goes. Toxic Fumes toys, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm good. How are you two?
Very well, thank you, sir. I am going to apologize publicly to everybody for waiting till, what episode are we on? 148, 149? Ridiculous.
It says 148 up the top. So.
If this was a draft, you would be the steal of the draft. You would be the late round, 7th round draft pick that turned into the Hall of Famer that everybody was like, hey, what a steal. Anyways, thanks for being here, dude. I apologize it took us so long to have
I think you're pumping the tires a bit too much, but
dude, so I mean,
I'll take it.
Yeah, good. It's Gosh, dude, I don't even know where to start, man. Let's start out. Go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I am Toxic Fumes Toys from beautiful, at least sunny today, Ontario, Canada. Been making toys since I had to look back, like 2017 was when I started. And yeah, I still make them from time to time. My output isn't as big as it was, but yeah, I'm still hacking away at the odd stuff. My workstation's still a mess, so there's proof of life still remaining. Yeah.
Good. Well, I mean, it's
You too scared? You leave me all alone. It's scary.
on an island all by yourself.
I thought you just left me in the stream and by myself. Take that, you son of a bitch.
Gave you like no prep, just decided it's like we're gonna pull you in and then full screen you to the world as well.
Yeah. And we're out of here too. We're gone.
Yeah, right. Dude, so let's go all the way back. What I thought was really interesting, I was telling you before, man, that I had did kind of a refresher on the Toys on Tap interview, which goes back to 2021. In that interview, you can tell that you had actually been around for a while at that point. Even you talk about switching your account over to Strictly Toys at one point. But what I thought was really interesting, dude, and I did not know this about you, is that it seems like, and I don't know, I'm sure there's more artists out there, and maybe they just don't talk about it very much. But it sounds like you definitely went from being a collector of, vintage stuff, and then kind of got the hankering to make your own stuff one day and kind of started from there. I know you're not a Star Wars guy, man. So what was it that you were collecting back in the day that said, man, I think I want to try to make some of this stuff?
Yes. So you've pieced together like half my origin story for sure. So I would say at that point in time, I was really big into like He-Man figures, like He-Man knockoffs. Like there's a bunch of them chilling back there on the shelf. So I was like really into those. I was spending at toy shows and things like that. And then I want to say, so just like looking at stuff on Instagram at the time before I knew anything about bootleg toys or anything, I think I just found Life is Terrible toys. And he posted something about like, oh, like this figure's sick. So while you guys are talking, I figured I'd go grab said figure. So he's like, this figure's sick, and he posted it. So I looked it up. I was like, oh, cool. It's made by this guy named the Angry Beast. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
So I check out like his big cartel. I end up finding out he's Canadian. So it's like, oh, cool. Like shipping won't be too crazy. And we do the deal. Little bit of time. Like he just sends it to me. That's kind of it. Like I get it. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Then fast forward, like maybe a few months later, I was also like heavily buying KOs off like Facebook groups, Instagram groups, and stuff like that. And I was buying some off a collector, and this collector also was like, there's like some other guy in Toronto who's also trying to buy all my KOs. And so I'm thinking like, all right, like I got somebody who I'm battling against here. And he's like, yeah. He goes by, and I was like, oh, like, what does he go by? He's like, oh, he goes by this name, like Lab Monkey number 9. So then I started like lurking his feed, and this was probably before Lab Monkey was as heavy into like what he's known for now. Like I feel a lot of it was like really big pieces. So if you look back, he has like this cool like Gizmo piece. He has this really cool Daredevil piece, but they were like, I think more one-offs, not as produced as he does now. So we started chatting over like Instagram, and then I found out that, oh, he also does like or he goes to toy shows. So then we ended up trading for like KOs, and I got one of his pieces. I have it on the shelf. I should have brought that into my first Lab Monkey one. But we made some deals for that, and then we just started chatting, and then I kind of got into the idea. And so again, like I think you touched on it, like then I was like, oh, like this is kind of cool. Would you help me make a toy? And then we kind of worked out a deal that I traded him toys for knowledge. And then I brought like a toy down. So like the first thing I ever made, the first molds, these would have been the ones I made with Lab Monkey, was for like the Creature Teacher.
Dude, yes.
So this was like a painted up one. I have a bunch of variants. Like this, I think, is a pretty early one. given how many like bubbles and inconsistencies there are in it. But this was one of the first ones. So then I think I heard 8-bits in here. So they had a show. This is like pre, I guess, like Toyronto shows. It was some other people running it. It was called the Action Statue toy show. So I rolled down to that to check it out. And then I gave 8-bit Mike, one of my creature teachers, and I traded him for one of his pieces, which I still have as well. But then I remember them being like, hey, what the hell? Like, you didn't bring us one. And then from that point on, I started trying on my own, making my own stuff. But Lab Monkey helped me make my first mold. He was always there to like, and still is there. I asked him questions last week about something, but he was definitely like, if you want, I like Star Wars enough to know that there's like a Padawan, and I was certainly the Padawan to his like master as I was learning about what I was doing.
I gotta know, man, like at this time in like your origin story, let's say, are you still living outside of Toronto? And is it basically like
I've only lived outside of Toronto.
Okay, so then would you say it was just like the vending, the toy shows that basically was bringing you down this way, and then seeing this stuff, meeting some of these dudes, or was it kind of heavily Instagram at that time as well?
So I would say the meeting of Lab Monkey in person was largely, so that show that we would always meet at was actually in Burlington. And he would actually, I want to say he would confirm this, but he would come with like Mysterion as well, who he does his like show with now. So him and Mysterion would come down, and he'd always be like trolling around for like his stuff. And then Mysterion would come and chat with me about like whatever stuff he was collecting at the time. And then that was truly how we would have like met in person. So that was the connection before like I went out there for sure. Because I remember saying like, oh, there's this cool toy, and he's like, oh yeah, I know Angry Beast, and then we kind of made that connection there as well.
Crumbs, who lives in Burlington? One of these dudes in the rooms lives in Burlington. Is it Dre? Somebody lives in Burlington.
There, yeah, he lives in Burlington.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, that's what I got. Dude, so tell me this, man. Like now that we are, 5, 6, 7, 8 years past that point now, do you look back at it now and say, because I think a lot of us do, at least I do, when I look back at that and I see that like Lab Monkey, like you said, you're the Padawan, right? And it just happened to be Lab Monkey. And like, holy shit, dude, like what a fucking artist to land on, right? As far as someone, linking up with somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And that, like, do you look back at that now and just go, God dang, dude, out of all the people that I could have landed on, I got this guy, and it's just freaking, I mean, you can't really name anyone better as far as making molds, right?
No, I mean, like you can see like when the amount of like interaction and compliments he gets if he just posts a mold post, and people are sometimes like more impressed with his molds than they are with like the final figure that he puts out. Like his molds in themselves are like a piece of art to look at, whereas mine, like I can see right now, are just like wrangled up pieces of trash I have that get the job done.
Yeah,
I did not pick up. I got some skills from him, but I did not pick up like his meticulous nature.
Yeah, you're right, dude. It's crazy, man. It is a art form in its own, is the mold making, and it's just it is something. But wow, what a teacher to have, as far as that goes, dude. So that was like, so we're talking 2017-ish, and then you start actually tabling the shows.
Yeah.
What? So it feels like this. Like, I don't want to jump ahead too far, but it feels like, and I've heard this from other people in the Toronto area too, is that scene before COVID, unfortunately, COVID came around, but before that, it sounds like it was a really live place, man. There were shows all over the place. There was lots of stuff going on, and it sounds like COVID kind of shut that down. In your interview with Toys on Tap, it really sounds like you can hear your enthusiasm from 2017. You're like, man, this is great. I'm going to start making stuff. I'm going through your posts on your page, and you're posting like very consistently throughout 2017, 2018. What was it like back then, man? What was the fire burning where like, holy smokes, dude, this could be something?
I don't even think it was just like locally to Toronto. Like, I think I mean, like you'll never hear me complain about algorithms or anything like that on like social media. Like it is what it is. I don't pay anything to be on there. Like I'm just happy I have a place to show it, and if people see it, that's great. I'm lucky enough that I don't do art for a living. I do art for a passion. So like I don't have to rely on it that much. I can see why people are bummed out, but like me, it's just like, whatever, I'll get by. But like things were like really popping back then, like even with like online sales and things like that. Yeah, I definitely like I felt a lot of love. Not that I don't feel it now, but like back then, like I was moving lots of stuff. I've always also, I feel like, kept myself in a pretty fair price point, which maybe helped as well. Like, and again, because I know what I feel my time is worth and my supplies are worth, and I can make that judgment kind of on my own. But
Sure.
but yeah, and then like the Toronto stuff was like a lot of fun. We had a lot of great artists.
I'm sorry, I got to interject because you even actually mentioned like you think you keep your stuff at a fair price, and like I completely agree, man. I was scrolling through your site before we were on here even, and also for anybody who ends up popping over the Toxic Fumes Big Cartel, hit the all products. It'll populate a little bit more for you.
I don't even like talking about my Big Cartel.
It's gonna make you feel all gross and dirty for a minute. Dude, some of your stuff on here though, like 55 for a 5.5, we don't see that anymore. Even like you've got a bunch of stuff for like $30 on here.
Canadian, 55 Canadian.
I think it's American on there.
Oh, that's American on there. Okay, I was gonna say. All right. Either way.
Either way, though, we don't see that, man. So yeah, if anybody's looking for some good, some well-priced resin work to be able to amass a pile.
You know what you said, dude? Where
and maybe that's a kick in the ass to properly update my Big Cartel.
You know what? You in your Toys on Tap thing, I think you had alluded to at one point you had an online store, but you couldn't buy from the online store. You could look at it, and then you had to DM you for to actually buy it. Is that right?
Oof. You've hit a blank spot in my memory, which is pretty solid. I don't normally have those, but like I think certainly at the beginning, everything was just like DM. That was just like the nature of the beast, was just send a DM and then you can get it. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I feel like in the beginning it was just whatever you see, just message me and I can get it. Oh, sweet! Thanks for grabbing a Troner piece. I appreciate it.
Yeah, nice. What's also funny, dude, is you said that you're not an artist, so you don't rely on this for a living. You had made a comment, dude, and I thought it was funny because I think it just shows the difference between like I don't know, probably two sets of different collectors, right? So you had said that if there's a piece that you wanted to use that a lot of people maybe wouldn't go for. I don't think you were very specific about what piece it was, but I instantly thought of something like an original, like an OG Scareglow head, right? Like when I see somebody recast that, I'm like, wow, dude, that was a ballsy move, man. That was a ballsy move to take that off and cast it. But you had made a comment and said, kind of like, so what? If I make two pieces out of it and sell two pieces, then I can probably just buy another one. And I don't think a lot of people really think of it that way because there's just this kind of allure of a vintage piece that you never want to touch or take apart. But it sounds like, at least as far as you casting pieces, it doesn't sound like that's ever really been an issue at any point.
There may have been some smoke blown out of my ass. I certainly would not cut off my Scareglow head, but I have molded a Scareglow in the past. I just carefully did it with his head still on the body and then adjusted it afterwards. It depends on the price of the piece, but I do recognize that there was a point where, like, you know, like if a figure is popular enough, like you can sell probably 4 of them and replace that toy you had before if you really wanted it back. But
great point.
So I would imagine then too, it's probably been painful for you to see some of these toys during that hype of the pandemic, especially going from being kind of like a $30 grab, or even sometimes like less from like a bin dive, now all of a sudden being on eBay for hundreds.
Yeah. I remember, like, I have one I'm looking at like on my wall over there, and it was like a more modern like Muckman figure.
Mm.
And I bought it for like $10 at some department store, and it popped to like well over the hundreds at one point. I was just like, how is this worth so much money? And I never sold it because I just liked the figure. And now I think it's dipped like way back down to what would be a reasonable price. But yeah.
Yeah, the pricing has always been super good, dude. Like I said, if those prices were even in American, those are still great prices. So speaking of toys specifically, so 2017 comes around, and you start messing around with this guy, right? Money Mantis.
Money Mantis. He wasn't the first one though. So the first, like the creature teacher was the very first thing. That's what Lab Monkey helped me cast. The first thing that like I ever cast, and this like shows my like, I shot for the moon on this. Like I made this guy, Don Dragoon. He's huge. Like he's from a Cops and Crooks body, so like he's a hefty boy. He's like still about like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces. The head was like way above my pay grade at that point in time, like making that. But this was the first one like I shot for, and then I think I want to say the Don Dragoon or Money Mantis came after that.
Yeah, dude. You know what's funny is when I scrolled all the way back and I was looking at that Don Dragoon piece, I realized that I had bought a 5.5 from you. I don't know, probably within the last couple of years, and it's got that same head, right?
Yeah, but I remolded it, I think, later on when I was slightly better at making molds. I was making something, I was like, oh, this is still a cool head. I'm going to remake this.
Cool. So getting back to the Money Mantis, man, just real quick about the Money Mantis. As far as the card art goes, dude, I've always been a fan of Dr. Oblamon, and I was just curious, dude. Yeah. How did you meet him, and how did the whole card art come about, really?
Instagram. I think I saw like another artist. I want to say it was maybe Patrick Sparrow who I was following, who dabbles a little bit in toy stuff. Actually, he did like the character design for like Extra Trucks, new like big chunky vinyl boys. He had posted something, and then I contacted Oblamon. Like I'd already made it. I had an original Money Mantis header card that was like that I drew. It wasn't very good. I can find examples of it somewhere, but I just hit him up. I was like, hey man, like I have this toy. Do you want to make card art for it? And he was like, cool, yeah, I'll do it. Send me a toy. And then we just did like a swap, like art for art, basically, which was sweet.
Oh, sweet. Even better, man. What do you think? What is it about the Money Mantis, or the Mantis figure in general, that has made this thing such a winner for you, dude? You've done a bunch of them. It seems like they're all one-offs pretty much, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever made like any. I don't make many runs of things to begin with, but
yeah,
that was just, I don't know. I think I just had like a cool, weird idea to start off with. Like, I think it came about. A friend of mine owned a place that I used to like work at just for trade called the Toy Society. Sadly, it's closed down. It was a vintage toy store. So I just kind of like went along its shelf or like wall of loose figures and was just like, what here would like look kind of cool together. The body for it is, I think, a bad guy from Bible Man, is what it came from. And then everything else from it is from the Swamp Thing general. I have another one. That would be an example of a toy I cut up and then rebought later on because it's like, this toy is too cool not to. Yeah, that's a slick Money Mantis there. That one looks good. Lots of gold on them.
Yes, dude. The black and the gold is very cool. But you know what, dude? I think it's everything that you said, right? It's also the name. I like the way the name flows. But then as a collector, when I get this, you obviously have, the ABLM9 magnetic protocol, which is great.
Absolutely.
It's very clacky. It's interchangeable. Everything is interchangeable. So as a collector, I think that's why, to me, this makes this a fun piece, because one of the best things about the Lab Monkey 9 pieces, and this piece too, and I've got all these pieces out at times and sat there for weeks and just swapped everything out and tried to make as many different things as I could. But that's one of the fun things about these, which is interesting, because this piece and Lab Monkey 9's piece, if you're a toy art collector, you would typically probably look at this stuff and say, it's probably not something I want to play with. But then once you start doing it, it's so addictive, dude. It's so addictive to sit here and just do these magnets all fucking day.
It's funny you say that. So I remember going, I can't remember which show it was, but we were doing like a show where we had gallery stuff, like gallery style stuff set up. And I went in with my wife and I just started like swapping pieces of myself and other artists. And my wife, coming from like an art history background and stuff like that, was kind of like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you can't be touching this stuff. Like, these aren't yours. And I'm like, no, it's cool. It's fine. Like, that's what they're there for. And obviously, like, I had a little bit more leeway to pull that kind of stuff, but she was just like, her mind was blown when I just like went in and started swapping parts. I'm also really glad those magnets have held up. Like, every now and then they pop out. I think everybody's been cool, like a little bit of super glue and they'll go back in there. But I guess that's also the nice thing. Like, they don't break too often. And if they do, super glue fixes all problems with those magnets.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And that's and that's all it is. And sometimes it's a weather thing. I mean, sometimes they show up like that. Other times it's years down the line. But you're right, a little super glue, pop it in there.
It's all handmade too. These things happen.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a winner, man. So what's going on with the money, man? Are you still making that? Is that by request or?
I want to say all the molds are dead, but like I remember, like, so at one point in time, like, obviously, like, I've spent a lot of time hanging out with like Angry Beast and like Lab Monkey. We've done numerous shows together. We've spent a lot of time together. And I remember Angry Beast saying something like Rick. So like Rick is like the figure I showed here. Like, that's a Rick figure. He's like, Rick is my Barbie. Like, I'll never stop making Ricks. Like, that will always be something I'll go back to. And I think I viewed my Money Mantis the same way as well. Like, I've gone through at least 2 full sets of like burnt out molds on the Money Mantis, making so many of them over time. I think I would go back and remold it, and that might be like fun just to revisit those toys one more time. Because yeah, like you said, I made a ton of them. Yeah, there's a solid little collage of how many different. That was early, so those would have been original header card Money Mantises too.
Wow, awesome.
Just figured might as well pull them up if you were talking about them. Also, these Money Mantis, his was heavily painted, and I've noticed like a lot of your work, you actually end up painting quite a bit these days. Do you actually enjoy painting the resin?
Yes and no. I still think there's like something really special about like all colored resin. But then sometimes painting's cool too, where it brings out like extra things that just like you may not have seen before. And I mean, there's limitations on what I could do with resin. Like, I tried early on to do figures that were like entirely resin colored. There's some alien figures, like these weird little aliens in parkas I made. And I tried to do those entirely done by just pouring very specifically. That was an exercise in futility for the most part. Yeah, so those dudes. So pretty much all of those is 100% resin. There might be a couple I cheated on the eyes with and had to black them out a bit. But for the most part, all of those were entirely colored just by resin.
That's pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah, so like those are just like guessing like, all right, I have enough in to like make a hand. All right, now I need to pour enough in to make the cuff. All right, now I need to finish it off. Or like the faces were like, okay, I'm going to fill up these 2 eye holes. Now I'm going to do enough to make sure just the face is covered, but it doesn't go into the frill. And you can see where I like didn't necessarily get that, but I did that early on, really trying to do that. And then, yeah, I just kind of like mix back and forth as it goes, I think. But you are right. I have heavily painted more so, I guess, later in my arc. And I do enjoy it. Question.
Yeah, I was going to ask, dude, just as a follow-up to Crumbs' question, do you have any, previous background in painting or in, I don't want to say figure making because that's probably a no, but as far as doing anything artistic, I mean, we'll get into the bands in a minute. That's a whole different thing. But as far as being creative and making stuff before you were actually making and posting toys on Instagram, was there any of that going on? Just even growing up or out through school? Nothing, huh?
No, I wasn't like super into like arts growing up or like painting. Like, I still don't view myself great at painting toys. Like, I can get the job done, but I mean, like, you can see other people's work, and it's just like mind-boggling. Whereas I'm just like, yeah, this works. It achieved what I wanted it to achieve from this, and I'm happy with that. And I've pushed myself a little more as I've like gone along as well.
When you say that it achieved what you wanted it to achieve, I think that's interesting, man. And I think that's really kind of playing off of just exactly what you said, dude. It's not really about how meticulous the piece is. It's that if it made you feel a certain way or remind you of a certain thing, that's kind of the point. And then boom, we're moving on. Is that kind of the way that you're thinking about that?
I would say that like kind of matches with what I like. I mean, you can probably find flaws in like anything that
Sure.
I've made. Like, and I mean, I could probably try and re-pour something 1,000 times, but sometimes it's just not worth it. Whether you're putting like an epoxy sculpt in to fill like a hole every now and then like if you can paint over it and it still makes the piece look good and someone else likes it, like that's the important part there. Like I would always try and showcase any flaws that I have to make sure like people know what they're getting. I don't want somebody to get it and be like this is garbage. But thankfully I don't think I've ever had that feedback. I think the only one time I had was somebody was bummed that something broke, but I was like, I can send you another one. And then they said no. And I was like, okay.
And they said no. So
yeah, it was for my Skelethanos figures that I made. The armor on those, like I was just like shooting for the moon with them, and the armor is so thin that like it cracked in the mail. And I think one guy took me up on it and I sent it, but another guy was just like, nah. So yeah, those were the Skelethanos figures.
Dude, I missed those and I love those. Yeah, sold out. No shit. How many of those did you make? Just the 3?
I made probably more than that. So I made those ones for when like me and the rest of like the peeps were doing Fan Expo. I was like, all right, like I feel like I need to have something like what we do is kind of weird. I probably need to have something here that hits more like pop culture marks. So I made Skelethanos and a He-Hulk that I was looking to sell there. And then I made handfuls of them later, but honestly, like making that armor was such a nightmare. There's probably much better plastics I could have used to make them, but like they're all just made with like 326, which is what I use primarily anyways. And it was just a matter of like watching a stopwatch and being like, all right, it's summertime. It's been 50 minutes. It's going to be malleable enough to pull it out of the mold without breaking it, but I can still bend it in time and it can reshape. And just going through and doing that with, again, trial and error.
Those are awesome, dude. It says last 3 for a long time. That was 322 weeks ago. If we've reached that, please let me know. Those are great.
That sounds like a maddening process, though. On top of that, finding that sweet spot where you also don't leave a bunch of fingerprint imprints in the fucking armor.
Yeah, hold on here.
Oh my god!
You know, the other thing that's a trip about the He-Man armor on the 5.5s is, if you're familiar with those, the little clasp on the back that holds them in.
That's what I was picturing. Is if
so like I managed to actually feed those like the clasps in. You can see there's a bubble there. That wasn't a good one. But like this is so fragile that like I don't think I would like even send it anywhere because it's like this is probably gonna break. But yeah, like you can see this one. The whole strap made it. This one I squeezed just enough in there to make it. But like, yeah, the clasps are still intact. And again, I was just using super like the same rigid resin I use for everything else.
Even with the OGs, your fingertips feel like they've been abused after that. I couldn't even imagine, man. Oh, that sounds horrendous.
It was just taking like the point of a knife and just like poking it through a little bit. Yeah, it was not the most fun, but
dude, I have multiple 5.5s from everybody, you know, and that portion on the back of that, the way it's so thin and the way you have to make it pliable, it blows me away every time I see it and it's intact. That being said, if you get to the point where you want to sell that one, I don't care what it looks like when it gets to me. You let me know, buddy. We'll talk about that.
I will. I have like one of almost like everything I've made. I think it was like Dove said at one point in time, just in talking to him, he's like, always keep something from your back catalog. Like one, it's to show what you've done. two, like you never know what someone may think of your art later, like regardless of how you view yourself, you may be viewed different by other people later, and that may be important. And somebody may hit you up down the road and be like, I would like one of these, do you have any? You can be like, you know what, I actually do. So I'm still not at the point where I'd part with many of my like one-off or like stuff like that, but I've kept one of almost everything I've ever done, especially since hearing like that wisdom, I suppose, from Dove.
Yeah, man. I think one of the things that I think is really cool about that one that you just showed too is you had mentioned really liking the He-Man kind of bootleg Mexican style looking toys. And I think that one with the colors and the way it looks is, I mean, besides being Thanos, even if you didn't say that was Thanos, I think that would be just a really cool, Mexican bootleg Skeletor type figure. But anyways, and that's a good question, dude. So you do keep your work, at least one of something. I've come across people, and we've had guests on the show before, where they're like, once it's gone, man, and that's it.
I mean, my camera view tells you I have too much stuff in general. So like, and this is only like one wall of the room we're looking in right now. So it may be an indicator of something like more problematic about my personality that I have one of everything that I ever made. But I also still, it's like, it's cool to be able to pull that out and be like, yeah, like I still have one of those. This is what it looked like. Whereas it's also cool knowing they're out there elsewhere in the world too. But
does that count variants then? Like, would you have all three Tromer variants?
I have, like, looking at my shelf, I have a yellow Tromer. I have a green Tromer. I don't have the plaid one that I made. That was just like a one-off for a show that never materialized. There is still like sitting on my workbench, like a more like brownish one to be like more like the actual like Toxic Avenger as opposed to Crusader that I've just never finished. I've looked at it a million times. So that is there. But I have like an original Tromer of both colorways. I even still have like what would be my like prototype for Tromer that was when Dove hit me up and he's like, hey, like, would you like to do a run of these? It's probably right here.
That's pretty rad. Trey, I do see your question there too. I'll make sure we get to that one.
So yeah, like I sent this was like what I sent to like Decon with Mind's Eye Toys. This was like the prototype Tromer. There's very minimal differences about like him versus the finished product. It's actually pretty much exactly the same. The only thing is originally I was gonna cast it so Toxic Crusader had like Blobby. So this was like Sudsy, his sidekick, which was just like a foaming over beer can that I had to go with him. That would really be the only difference between that and the final runs that I did. But otherwise, he still looks pretty much exactly the same. But that was the first one I ever made there. That was the one that Dove was like, hey, would you like to showcase these in a different way? And I did. And that was a learning experience.
What is it about? Would you say, what year do you think that was?
That's a great question. Let me quickly click the Wayback Machine here and see what we come up with. Which is me scanning through my own Instagram page just to figure out
right.
that I do this. That's the Wayback.
Decon 2020.
Decon 2020 sounds about right. Yeah. It would. I think that's right. I'm pretty sure you're correct.
Just because you did your interview with Toys on Tab 2021, and you mentioned that it had been the Decon the year previous. We're nerds. Does that feel fucking weird as hell that these two grown men were creeping the shit out of you all week?
No, I'm good with it. I kind of expected it. And I even like before this, I had like a bit of, I won't say like performance anxiety. I'm like, what are they going to ask me that I won't remember the answers to? Like, I wonder how much research they did. So to perfectly answer your question, that one was first posted. It would have been November 15th, 2019 was when I would have originally made it. And And then after that, that was when like Dove reached out, and then I had the conversation with like Non Heinous, who like, I think even before I made that, I was like, hey, you made this really cool like mock-up of a Toxie Homer. Like, would you be cool if I made a toy about this? Like, you kind of made this mashup. I'm not gonna like take your idea. And he was like, great dude. We've worked together on other stuff. He's done fonts for my band. What's Toxic Fumes' favorite toy line? Oh, I'm just reading this. Probably Toxic Crusaders would be one of my favorite toy lines, but I also love like Toy Biz X-Men as well, and Ninja Turtles, as I'm surrounded by.
Nice.
Yeah.
So just, you know, one of the things that I really like about the community is that we keep on seeing new people pop up. It seems like consistently, right? I would say, here's one thing, dude, that I thought was reading some of your old posts. Some of the artists that you were mentioning, I did not know were around for that long. Headcase Toys, Feigned, Green Plastic Tunnels. You even had a freaking scraped resin piece in there who's not even around anymore. And he's up from my neck of the woods up here in Sacramento.
He's around. He just has a different name. I think like I found out. But yeah, I loved Scraped Resin. He was so good. Like some of the stuff he made for like Clutter, were the pieces I bought like a few times.
Yeah.
Green Plastic Tunnels, like, man, what can I say about that human? Like, they're an amazing person. One, they were a very early supporter of me. I traded like a Money Mantis way back for some of his stuff. I have it up in the walls in like a different spot here. And then not only that, like he gave me the molds to his Forecaster toy, which was like a pretty significant toy.
Wow.
In what we're doing, because I had ordered one and I was like, hey dude, I still haven't seen like the toy come around yet. And he's like, all right, I'll send you something. And then he sent me like another version of his Forecaster in the molds, and you're just like, have at it, man. Like, have fun with this. I've gotten my life out of it. So yeah, I think I still actually have a few of those left, as I might have some variants in stock. But yeah, he gave me like a toy that was like a huge thing for him, going way back as well. And we're just like, yeah, man, have fun with it. Do your thing with it. Just such a nice person.
That's awesome.
Like my Dead Have Resin shirt on from like that show we did, and I believe him and Basement Puke were two people who were involved in putting that show together. I think in Baltimore, I want to say, like another early like resin art show. One of the first ones I got to do, so that's cool.
That is cool, dude. And yeah, you did make a trade. You traded it for a carded creature piece if you want to get real weird with it.
Nice. Yes, I know I made him. It's like a transparent glow in the dark one with like red spots on it throughout it is what I made for him.
Sick, dude. That's so cool, man, that mold came from him, because I have he redid that recently and released some new ones. But it's I did not know that's where the mold came from. That's awesome, dude. I
yeah, so my Forecaster was entirely like his molds that he just sent to me, and he's like, see what you can get out of these.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah, dude, we got off on a tangent there. At what point? So 2016 to 2017, you're kind of casually making stuff, and then you start doing some of these shows. At what point, man, were you like, I want to start doing this more often? And maybe that's not even what you thought. Maybe it's at what point did you kind of go from like a casual maker to something that's like a lot more consistent, getting involved with shows? I know you were a big fan of the scrap shows, as was I. What do you think it was that clicked for you that made you kind of want to go all in on it?
So like when I guess like you could probably like, we've talked about how you're like my Toxic Fumes feed literally starts off with like a toy. Partially that's because I guess I'm always like weirdly concerned with like people in real life, like in civilian life, being like, I don't want to see the dumb bullshit that you're doing all the time. So like when I was posting a bunch of toy stuff, I'm sure some people are like, this is cool, and other people are just like, oh, interesting. And I just also like, I do like having a balance between like, this is stuff that I share personally, this is stuff I share with like the toy world. I'm probably not that hard to find. Like people could find my personal account, but like I post even more sporadically on there than I do on my Toxic Fumes account. Normally it's like a cat or an animal, or some other weird thing I found. So I got hooked pretty quick, I would say. Like as soon as I started making like the Money Mantis and stuff like that, like I feel like all bets were off and I just started like going. I remember I made mini monsters from like the Diener molds. They're in another spot of the house, so I can't get them. But that was when I first started like really messing with different colors too. And I think I even remember Lab Monkey saying like, oh, like you're officially a toy creator now. Like that was when I had made my first like 2-piece mold with those coloring with lots of different resin colors. A lot of it I was just really lucky that I lucked into. I got my pressure prop from a buddy who just also messed with toys like probably 2 years prior to like when I was doing it. Like he was talking to like, I think it's like Man or Monster who were making like Bognar toys and stuff like that. And he was making things like that. And then he goes super heavy into stuff. So we had multiple pressure pots. He's like, you can just have one of my pressure pots. So he gave me that. He gave me some old resin to mess with. And then, yeah, I got hooked pretty quick with making it as well. And I mean, the response was good too. So it was like, I was psyched that people were appreciating and interested in what I was creating.
Yeah, for sure, man. So gosh, dude, it's almost hard to jump ahead to where we are now because it feels like there's so much in between. If you look at your thread over the last year or so, you can see that it's obviously slowed down a little bit. So let's talk about that, man. You're obviously extremely busy. Like I was telling you before we came on, dude, I really feel like it was lightning in a bottle that we caught you when your schedule had a break in it. I know you're extremely busy with the bands. How long has the band stuff going on? And was that around before? Obviously, it was around before the toy scene.
Well, like I wasn't actively playing in a band when I started making toys. I can even remember at one point in time, like I was dumb when I first started making toys and like I wasn't wearing like a respirator. And then like having the combination of breathing in these shitty toxic fumes and then also like singing in a band, like my voice was just like, there's something wrong. Like this isn't good. But then I realized, oh, if I put a respirator on, like this will feel a lot better. And then it did. So yeah, I've definitely done, I would say I would have to look back. My band started like almost 10 years ago. So like there was certainly an overlap, I think, between what I was doing as well. But now I'm in, because I don't know when to say no. I'm in like 3 bands at this point in time. So it was, I'm so glad I got it, like that you had this week open. It was perfect. I'm on vacation from work. Both of them, I have 2 band practices I sometimes have on Thursdays. One was already pre-moved to Wednesday, one was canceled. So it's just like, oh sweet, like this will actually work out. Otherwise I would have had to wait till my next vacation in like July or something like that.
Oh god, wow. And in your real life, dude, I mean, can I ask you about what you do in your professional life?
Sure. I don't give out my actual name. I'm a teacher. I don't talk about it too much. I teach like elementary grades. I try to keep all my worlds like pretty separate. Kids are pretty good at like Googling people and finding stuff out about them. So I try to keep a low profile, not using my actual name on most things. There's like, I think only like 1 kid's ever called me like, you like make stuff, eh? And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I'll always play dumb and not like, I won't just say like yes. And they're like, oh, like someone shared an article about you in like Rue Morgue magazine. And I was like, oh, yeah, sometimes I make things. But yeah, so I have like that, which is obviously like a full-time job. Yeah, and then the band stuff, and it just keeps busy. You mentioned like my feed really is made up now of like, I don't really remember what the last thing I made for like fun was. Like it's all been for shows that I've done and stuff like that, which I do appreciate the fact that like I'm sure I'm annoying to Lab Monkey because he'll always ask me to do stuff and then I'll always like hum and haw, but I always end up doing it. So now I just say yes and give myself a deadline of like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
But like whenever like him, but there was a show I had to back out of. I felt bad. Like the Shrek show, I think like I had signed up and I was just like, you know what? Like I just don't have time to do this right now. I'm sorry. And they were super cool about it. And I really appreciate their understanding.
Sure.
But yeah, now it's just about like picking times to do things. And I guess coming down into the basement lab isn't always the priority, but it's always once I start, I love doing it. It's like, oh yeah, this is really fun. Why don't I do this more often?
Yeah, dude. And I mean, isn't that, I mean, I get that from a lot of artists, and I don't even make anything, man. But, and I think I think I probably speak for Crumbs as well, dude. And we talked about this on the show just a couple weeks ago is, yeah, dude, we would love to uh, dedicate a ton of time to this and make things like super legit. Um, is that going to pay the bills at the end of the day? It's absolutely not. So that's at the point where it kind of starts taking a backseat, like you said, and you have to start prioritizing. Well, you know, shit, I do have a real job that I need to focus on so I can pay my bills, so I can be able to do this, which is kind of a, you know what I mean? You get in that cycle, I guess, right?
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. Like, I remember at one point in time, like my mom asking me, she's like, "Oh, would you ever consider like taking a year off to like just focus on your art stuff?" And I was like, "No, like no, I have zero interest in doing that. Like, I don't want it to be my job. I want it to be something that like I always enjoy and I can do on my own time. And when I have the idea, like I don't want it to be something where like it's creating any extra stress for me. Like I want it to just be like a fun thing I get to go do."
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You know what? And I think,
My mom's also never bought one of my toys, so
um, I mean, I think that's a, gosh, man, that's a really good way of looking at it, you know. And just kind of, so is that kind of where you at, or where you at mentally, as far as kind of just keeping in touch with the scene? You're obviously still interested in staying present, as far as, you know, popping up in shows and making stuff here and there. But gosh, dude, I think a lot of people probably feel that exact same way, where you just wish there was more time. And what's really cool about what you just said there, dude, is that you want it to stay fun. You know, when it starts to be all this pressure and like there's an obligation, I feel the same way about the show, man. When and posting consistently, and when it starts to become an obligation, it kind of takes the fun out of it. And it's like, maybe I need to take a break for a while.
yeah, I think that's important, especially like if it's not something that is like your primary like income flow, like then
Yeah.
why I'm not gonna put that much stress on myself for something that like I'm not, I don't know. I just don't need that stress.
Yeah, dude. Do you think that stress when you're doing that, do you think that affects the work? I mean, I would think it would, right? Like if you're trying to push yourself to get something out in a deadline, you know, maybe you're not making it exactly what you want it to be, and you're just trying to get to the finish line.
Yeah, I think that, and I think that's it's one thing for me personally speaking to have that as like this is my like kick. I need to like get this finished for a show to have like this one piece that goes out. But like, man, like I wouldn't want to be in the position where like I need to get this done so I can pay for this. I need to get this done so I can do like I don't want it to be something where like all of a sudden my life depends on getting this stuff done. That just wouldn't be like then I really think like my stuff would suffer because then I'm just going to be doing whatever I think will make me the most money, which for the most part like I think like a lot of the stuff I've ever made, like I've never made something I don't like. I've never made something that I feel like I talked about, like even like the Skelethanos, love those figures. But like, even at the time, like my mindset was like, I don't always want to rely on just pop culture mashups. I want to make cool stuff because I started with like the Money Mantis doing things like that. Obviously I did lots of pop culture mashups later. So hindsight's 2020, but
Sure.
again, I also love The Simpsons and Toxic Avengers, so it was natural for me to make those things together.
Yeah. So how are you kind of dedicating any sort of time to the toy craft at the moment? Is it just kind of like whenever you have time, are you trying to set a certain amount of time or a day of the week aside to where you can focus on this stuff? Or it's just, you know, when you see a show pop up, hey, that might look interesting.
Yeah, that would probably be more where it's at. Like for a while, it was simply like stuck at the stage of like, I really need to clean my workbench and like the room I make it in, because it can get to a point where it's just like, this isn't even like fun to look at. I don't want to be down here.
Yeah.
So then once I get that cleaned up, it's like, all right, but I could see the idea of like setting time to do things. It's probably like one part laziness too. Like sometimes I just want to like relax and play a stupid video game rather than like go downstairs and do it. Yeah. So I think that's where the shows help out for me. Like they just give me the kick in the butt I need to be like, all right, like go make something.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, man. I think the online shows are a good way just to kind of stay in touch. Like you said, you kind of have that finish line out there at a certain point, and you can work up,
Yeah.
uh, kind of create a cool little schedule to work back into it slowly but surely, and then produce something at the end, which is cool. So the band stuff, dude. Let's talk about that real quick. You said you're
Sure.
in. Did you say 3 bands?
3 as of recently. Basically like the third band, it's like it's all like, for lack of a better word, like pretty incestuous. Like it's like all of my bands are basically made up of the same people, just doing different things. So
Oh,
like the most recent band I joined, like the drummer of that band is the drummer in like the band that like I write all this stuff for, and then the other 2 members are in the other band that I joined later on. So yeah, like the first band I started with was a band called Frank Dukes. I made a toy for Earth to Kentucky that was like based on my band and like a bunch of other things. It was my Frank Dukes Goes to the Kumite toy that I made. So it's like a mashup of like Milo from the Descendants and like Bloodsport, and that was like bringing all my stuff together with that. So yeah, that would be the one right there. So, and that's a fun crossover every now and then. Like I'll make one of those and just like bring them to a show like that we're playing. And then every now and then somebody will be like, yo, like, what is that? And then like I explain that I made it. And then sometimes they're like, oh, like, sweet, how much is that? And I think it's like, I usually ask for like $40. And a lot of them who have no idea about art toys are like, oh, cool, man. And I walk away. But then like the last one I sold was this other dude who's like all about collecting like punk rock paraphernalia. And I was like, well, like I made it, man. It's still a price. He's like, I don't care how much it is. Like, just tell me how much it is and I'll buy it. And I was like, all right, sweet, it's $40. And then away he went. And it went with other like Milo, like Descendant stuff that like Super 7 made. So it's cool to like see it on his wall there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like Frank Duke started playing. Then like fast forward a few years, there's a band I grew up listening to. Like they literally played the first punk rock show I ever went to, called Handheld. And they had been broken up for a long time, but were reuniting. But one of the members had zero interest in coming back. And they're like, hey man, do you want to play guitar for us? And I was like, yeah, I do. Previous to that, like 2 of those members played in a band called Curbside. And then recently, like Curbside had like a bit of a change up, and they're just like, hey, do you want to come play bass for us? Like we're already in all these bands together anyways. And I was like, yep, I'll do that as well. So like whatever, we all share the same jam hall, so some nights it's just like I stay at the jam hall for 2 practices rather than 1. So like, and our schedules are so intertwined that like booking is not hard, because like if any member says no, I can't play a show, that automatically rules out 2 bands. So it's so far it's been like pretty chill. We'll see how that goes, but
nice.
Yeah.
Dude, going back to what you just said, you said something about selling that figure at a show, and when you said the price $40, which I think is, I mean, people who are in this community are probably going $40. Fucking hey, dude, that's a great price point for that. I'd snag that up, you know. When people say, when they act like they're interested, and you tell them the price, and then they go, maybe not. What's your initial reaction, man? Is there a point where you want to explain to them and say, look, this is why it's $40? Or are you over that and you just say, hey, if you're not into it, you're not into it?
Oh yeah, that's exactly where I'm at. Like, it's like, it's whatever, man. Like, I get it. Like, there would have been like I vividly remember I was doing a punk rock flea market, and like this little kid came up, and I had like one of my like Skull Commander dudes, and he's like, oh, this is so cool. And then like his mom's like, how much? I think I was like, I can't remember how much I charged. There's a price on the website, but sometimes markets are different because I got to pay for my table. But I think I was like, let's say again, like $40. And the mom just like looked at me. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. It's handmade, like, sorry. And that kid came back like probably 10 times to look at it. And finally she's like, here, and gave me the money for it. And I was just like, I almost felt bad for that kid too, because it's like, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but like I hope it lasts with you, the other toys you play with. I'm glad you're psyched on it, but I mean, yeah, I know what people who know why they cost what they cost. I can understand why somebody looks at a Super 7 figure that's $20 and then mine looks pretty much exactly the same because I've ripped off all their ideas to create it. And there's like, oh, 40 for that. And it's like, yeah. But no, I'm pretty over it. I'll just be like, I made it myself, man. It's handmade. Sorry.
Yeah. And that's where I think it's, gosh, dude, I see it over and over and over again at a bunch of shows that I go to. Now, some of the shows that are a little bit more specific, where you have a lot of people that are really know exactly what they're looking at. I don't think it's that prevalent, but when you see, some larger shows, sometimes I like designer con and stuff like that, where people aren't necessarily there for like the resin scene, and then they come by and they look at something like that and they go even higher, right? 80, 100, 20, 140. And they're just like, what the fuck? Why would I pay that much for that? It's like, how much time as an artist do you want to invest and go, okay, well, here's why I'm charging that much. And it's just, I could see as that getting so frustrating that it just kind of dies on the table at some point where you're like, man, I'm over it, dude. You know what I mean?
There's so much like internal stress that like I carried around pricing my things in general. Like I wanted to make sure like it felt like a value, but I wanted to make sure that like I was getting like a value from it. Like I'll be completely honest. Like I remember early on, like I feel like my money mantises when I started out, I think I was only charging maybe like $25 or $30 for them. Like I wasn't charging very much. That was like 5 points of magnetic articulation, 6 molds to make the toy. Like that was 10 magnets in it. And I would do trades with people, and then there were just like points in time where it's like, man, like I feel like I'm kind of like undervaluing what I'm doing here. Like I feel like depending on like what another person has for a price, and I have no slights against what anyone wants to charge for their art. It's your art. You do whatever you want. But there were times when like I had to kind of like force myself to reevaluate, like, oh, maybe I should, charge a little bit more for this, because like I'm putting a lot of work into it. I'm putting a lot of materials into it. Those magnets aren't cheap. But yeah, pricing was always like a really weird spot for me, just because I never want somebody to look at it and be like, oh, like that's not worth it. But again, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I've paid way too much money for records that should have cost much less. I've paid more for comic books, but I don't regret any of those.
Likewise, man, I would say the same thing, dude. I think you can take a lot of pieces from artists, and I think it, like you said, eye of the beholder, right? If you have a old school piece, one of the first pieces from one of your favorite artists, it's obviously going to be worth a lot more to you. And I think part of that comes with the knowledge of what it is and who made it, which is cool. So, God, dude, you are so busy, man. What are the immediate plans for the toy portion of what you do? Is it, I know you said it's kind of touch and go at the point, and shows are an important thing. Is that just kind of the plan for now, is to roll with that? I could see it being almost hard to make any real solid plans with everything else that's going on,
Yeah, like in the direct future, I'm doing Extra Truck's new show.
Nice.
Like the Enos one, so I have like a figure I'm gonna paint up for that. I'm probably even gonna include like a resin figure that goes with it, because it would kind of fit within the character that I'm doing for it. That being said, more than likely with most of my online show stuff, like I think you might be the only person who owns one of my online show pieces. I think you own like my Scraps 2, maybe.
Yes, sir.
Was that Scraps 2, I think? So like I feel like that's the only. Was it 2 or no?
I think it was. Oh God, dude!
I think it might be 2.
Yeah, I think it's 2.
One was like a guy who had like a Papa Shango head, and he like crushed somebody's skull because that mold collapsed when I put it in the pressure pot.
What a wrestler, man! That guy was great.
But like I keep all my online show stuff just because I don't know, they're cool, and I make them because I like them. So yeah. I don't know. We'll see if I sell the one for the Extra Truck show, or if it's just something that stays on my shelf because I'm excited about the subject matter I'm using for it.
Those pieces are massive, dude.
Yeah, the Extra Truck things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they're. Whoop. That was a close one. Oh.
And B, your piece was Scraps 4.
No.
Oh, was it Scraps 4?
No way. We just had Scraps 4.
From the archives, it looks like it was 2023.
So yeah, they're like They're massive. They're huge. Like
Yeah.
compared to like anything else around here, compared to like a superpowers figure. They're insanely large. So it'll be fun to paint this guy up, which I mean, I'm also giving you a show behind the curtain of how behind I am on creating this, but it'll get done. I always meet my deadlines. Yeah, I think other than that, the only thing I made recently was one of my like toy buddies was kind enough to hunt me down a Kenner Bat Missile Batmobile, which I really love that specific Batmobile. Like that's the Batmobile as far as I'm concerned, but it was missing like the windshield. So I ended up molding a new windshield because he had the original one. So I took like a utilitarian approach to it. But funny enough, he's like, hey, have you ever considered, he's like, you know, you could probably mold like the two pieces there. Those are always missing from toys. And then like you could make money off that. And I was just like, you're right, I could, but like I have no interest in doing that. Like that doesn't sound fun.
Yeah,
good point.
I've seen people do that with some of exactly what you said, right? Hard parts that are usually lost, hard to get.
Yeah. One of the fins on the Batmobile I bought off eBay. Somebody else made it using resin, and more power to them. Like have at it if that's how you want, if it's fun, if that's how you want to make your buck, like do it, man. But like I have zero interest in doing that. Because again, that's when it also becomes stressful. Like if I have like a little bubble in my windshield that is hidden behind like the thing and it looks cool on the shelf, I'm good with that. But like I don't want to go through like that mold is a bit janky to begin with anyways. I'm not big on those like squish mold types that I made it with. So like I don't want to go through the work of making these precise ones and then how much do I really sell? It's just not worth it.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think that's probably the one drawback, right, to selling handmade stuff to people that don't really know what handmade entails, right? That's kind of saying if it's not perfect, it's not perfect, man. It's handmade. What do you want me to do about it? You know, but I think as the artist too, once you do that and you start perfecting it and then you got to throw it away and start over, like, holy shit, man, now you're in a tough spot.
Yeah, I can't remember. I want to say it was like Fiond who would like say like right on his website with like ripe with imperfections or something like that. And he's still one of my favorite artists. Like I love his stuff so much. He's also been like a person from the very start, super kind, like always like done stuff with me. I mentioned like, yo, do you have a blank when I was first getting started? He just sent me one for free to paint for like fun, just messing around. Like there's so many people like who again like have been around for so long, longer than I have, who are just like so cool and just kind people.
Yeah, another teacher, right? He's
correct. Yeah, I don't ever want to blow anybody's cover. There's a few of us who hang out in the toy scene, but if he has given you that information, that's all good. But I won't blow anybody else.
That information we've had numerous talks about just teachers in general, dude. Both my parents were lifetime teachers for 40 plus years apiece. So I always grew up in a teacher household, and it's different, dude. It's you know what I mean? It's like it's not in a bad way, but it's I don't know how to explain it, dude. It's great. Teachers are fucking great, dude. There are some of the most underappreciated people on the face of the earth. I know that for sure.
This is like a completely off-topic story, but I'll go into it. So like this might be the year I cross streams and I actually like bring some toys into my classroom, because like school can be boring and I want to make it at least like somewhat funny, even if it's ridiculous. Like, do you know the like nugget buddies like McDonald's put out last year?
Yeah.
I randomly, a friend of mine gave me a bag full of them, and I just started crafting a story one day with like students who were in grade 5 at that point in time, like just leaving random nuggets all around my classroom. And we created this whole high drama around it, to the point where they came back next year, like this year, and right before like winter break, one of them looked at me and they're like, listen, Mr. C, you know, it's December. When are the nuggets coming back? And I was just like, oh. So like I've casted some nuggets now. So I may like some students like may just get like a nugget at the end of the year as like a going away present or something like that. Or I'm just going to integrate them into the story. Like all the nuggets from last year are dead. These are just the ghost of the nuggets that are left. But we'll see how dark I get.
Dude, that's funny, man. What a great way, and what a great takeaway for the student too. Not only to have that memory of the classroom, but then having something tangible that they can take with them a resin casted nugget, dude. That's got to be something.
Yeah, there was another maker. I'm pretty sure this was public if I know about it because we weren't super close. Deneman, I believe, was his name. He made like space monsters and stuff like that. He used to give away trophies, I think, once a month. I want to say his school. I think like he sent me one of them. It's like a graduation cake topper. And then I think it had like a Wolverine head on it. And he would just give it out as like a student award every month, I think.
Nice.
Saying something like that, or somebody told me something along those lines that they gave those out like every month as like just a like recognition to students.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Dude, we are over an hour and we haven't even got to the most important question of the night. Give me either your tops. Are you a sandwich guy?
Oh, I enjoy a good sandwich.
Everybody's a sandwich person. Give me your top one. Give me your top three if you want, but please be specific. What are we talking about when Toxic Fume says, damn, I want that Sammy? What is it?
So like my wife will tell you I have like almost a problematic like routine. I've literally eaten for the last, I want to say 2 years, almost every single day, just like a turkey sandwich with mayonnaise, cheese, and then I always put chips on top of them, typically jalapeno cheddar, or those will get added before I eat jalapeno cheddar Doritos.
Nice.
And that is the problem. I should not be eating that much processed meat. I should not be eating that garbage every single day, but it just like became such an easy habit. If I want, like, I'm a big fan of club sandwiches. So there's a place like close to my house called Cambridge Restaurant, called the Cambridge Restaurant. That's the city I live in. I'll get their club, which would just be like turkey again, but like if I'm being specific, I don't want lunch meat turkey. I want like actual turkey that's been like cut off and put in the sandwich.
Sure.
Always the tomato because raw tomatoes are gross. Then like lettuce, bacon, always on white, and then they also make like their own like in-house garlic mayo, which is like either hit or miss, because every now and then, and it's not the end of the world, I can hash through it, but like you'll get like a piece of mashed up garlic when you're like eating it that's in the mayo, so like a mashed up clove. Those are pretty solid, so that'd be a pretty go-to sandwich for me, I think.
Nice. Great.
And I worked at Quiznos at one point in time, so I was a sandwich artist. To which, like, you have Quiznos, I believe, as well. They started in America.
We used to.
Yeah, we have like one left, and they're popping up left, right, and center. That would have been like early 2000s.
You still have one there?
There's one. It sucks. I went there last year. But I remember working there, like how annoyed people were when they would come in and they'd be like, yeah, can I get like olive on that? And I'm like, no. Like that's not part of the flavor profile. That's not what, and like, so I have a sarcastic streak to me every now and then as well. So I was like a supervisor at this place. And I remember like a customer came up, and like, maybe this just proves I can be a dick, but she was like, what comes on the turkey ranch and Swiss? And I kind of just looked at her and went, turkey, ranch, and Swiss. And then she was not pleased with my response, but we got to the bottom of it. But yeah, I was a sandwich artist for a while at Quiznos. So
sandwich artist, that is so funny. That reminds me of Dumb and Dumber. What's the soup du jour? Oh, that's the soup of the day.
That's the soup. I'll have that.
Sounds good. I'll have that. Oh man, great choice though, dude.
Sandwich, turkey bacon clubs are just solid sandwiches.
Turkey bacon club. You know, a lot of people, when they say club sandwich, you have to say, are you talking about a chicken club or a turkey club? I had heard a story that a chicken club, actually the CLUB stands for chicken lettuce under bacon. I don't know how true that is, but
we have like Tim Hortons up here, we have something called like bagel belts, which is like a bacon, egg, lettuce, tomato. So it is an appropriate like acronym they have for that one. Like it's like, yeah. But again, hold the tomato because those are gross. Slimy, man. Raw tomatoes. Ugh. That'll kill any sandwich. No, thank you.
Not even
Send it.
thin cut. Not even thin cut.
No.
Really?
Like I said, like if I don't want to appear like a child, I will eat one. But like left to my own devices, 100% that's coming off the sandwich.
I'm the same way with mushrooms, dude. I can't do it, man.
Oh, mushrooms are also filthy. Dude, don't even get me started. Like I used to also work at like a grocery warehouse, and let me tell you, when the mushroom truck rolled in, you knew the mushroom truck was there because it reeked.
I bet. That is so funny, man.
Yeah,
Dude,
mushrooms I can't really do anything of. Like a tomato, I love every other tomato product, like pasta sauce, whatever. All that's good. Even like bruschetta, like I'll deal with tomato on that. But when it comes to like mushrooms, the only thing I'll do is like mushroom soup in a recipe with something else. But like if you gave me straight up mushroom soup, no.
No way.
Filthy.
Exactly. Filthy, dude. I just don't get it. I don't care how many different ingredients people say. Well, if you mix it with this, no.
No, the ingredient is still mushroom, which is gross.
And you're right, dude. To me, it tastes like dirt. Mushroom.
Yeah, and then you just hit one, and it's just like, ugh. The texture is not great. Yeah.
Oh man. Crumbs, we've been here for over an hour now, dude. Is there anything that you wanted to ask Toxie before we let him go here?
I actually do, only because it's been on my brain a little bit, homie.
Yeah.
So based on the way you cast, and I've got this guy sitting right here, and we talk about this kind of stuff all the time. Would you consider this an overpour for yourself, or would this actually be that like you wanted to just kind of fool around, blend a bunch of stuff in a mold?
That one would have been purposeful. Like I would have probably just like that was like when I was making stuff like that, like I would pour like that would sometimes all be in. I think with that one, like that would have been like pour in a color, let it set in the pressure pot, pull it back out, pour again. Like that would have been like probably that one I think would have been 3 pours probably. That being said, there were also ones that I would do like those aliens you showed before, like those things took forever to make because I only roll one mold at a time basically. So you figure like that alien, I poured the boot. Okay, that's a black resin I did. Then that sets for an hour. Then I poured just the legs. So that was like green. Let that set for an hour. Then I poured white on top for the frill. Let that set for an hour. Yeah, those were ridiculous when I was making those things. But like, yeah. And that was also like, it would always be funny. Like my wife, who would have just been like my girlfriend at the time, I'd be like, all right, like I'll be back in a second. I just need to go downstairs. And she would immediately change like whatever we were watching on TV because she knew that I was just going to disappear for probably like an hour and a half into the basement to do something. So yeah, those ones that wouldn't have been an overpour. Like I would have probably mixed all those possibly at the same time. I don't remember. I think the way the colors blend, it could have been different, but no, even truffles, no thanks. You're just trying to like, you're sugarcoating a mushroom, man. Like they're cousins.
And then before we kick out.
But yeah, so that one wouldn't have been a no. I think that would have been a purposeful like color choice with that one, not just I have tons of overpour stuff, but not those ones. That one specifically, at least.
Nice. And then before we get you out of here too, being a Canadian, how does it feel sometimes knowing that this isn't like your main gig, you're just kind of having fun? How does it feel knowing that like a bunch of galleries, different stores have had your work in it across the world, aka even in the States especially?
Yeah, man, like it's weird. That's a really good question. Like it's something that like I don't necessarily take myself seriously in like doing this stuff. I don't like even like really refer to myself as ever like an artist, but like I remembered like one time I was just like at a meeting at work and it was like some team building thing that I'm not the biggest fan of because like, you know, let's just get this done so I can go home. But it's like tell something about you that no one might know. And I think at that point in time, that was just when I had sent my stuff down to like Gallery 1988. And like that was a big deal, like getting tapped on the shoulder from them, like, would you be willing to do this? And it's like shit, like I bought prints from you guys, like you are legit like in this pop culture world too, like to do this. And I was like, well, like, I mean, I have like some toys on display, like I have some art on display right now in a gallery in Los Angeles. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I make toys. And yeah, it was just, it is weird. It's kind of like surreal to think about like places that I have sent stuff to, or even looking at like where around the world, like little things that I made have like ended up. It's really cool. Like the fact that that happens just from like me dicking around in my basement with stuff. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, some of the gallery stuff is really cool to know that my things have been there.
So one, this is the gallery 1988 one that you were speaking of, which
Yeah.
very dope to see your
Shout
actual
out
toys.
to Snapthink Toys, I think it was, who took all those pictures for me, because the online presence wasn't that great. And I saw they were there. I'm like, dude, is there any way you can take a picture of my shelf? And he's like, yeah, I'm on it. And then he took like a whole bunch of pictures. And those ones were like unbelievably fun for me. So those are a mixture, some of them, of like, that's different. I tried not to paint too much. So like, if you look at some of those, like, yellow would obviously be all natural. The capes are not painted on those. The skateboards typically aren't painted. I tried to mix it up a bit while I was doing those as well, but just for color matching, like paint also made it easier on those. Like if you look at his arms, I don't want to pour just an arm's length and hope I get it right to the cuff. Like I wanted those lines to be like a little tighter on those, which I couldn't achieve simply with creative pouring and angles like I once tried to do. But those Bartman of the Universe, like I also like thoroughly enjoyed those. Like those things were so much fun for me. Where it's like I had those ones, I had like Green Lantern ones. I did one for like the GI show. I did a Cobra Commander and a Destro one. Just making Bart into different things and the idea behind the multiverse. And that other one you had, you scrolled past one, my clutter one. I think it was down a bit there, Crumbs. A little more. Keep going. There she is. That one, right? Oh, wait, that was the heavy metal show. But there was the Dare Dude I made, the heavy metal Hanukkah. So those, I really loved making those stained glass windows. Those are so much fun for me. And a lot of those I didn't paint. So like I'm gonna toot my own horn for a second here. One of my favorite artists for the longest time has been DLL Customs. The stuff they create is beautiful, for lack of a better word. Their use of colors, their use of pours, the stuff that they create. And like they reached out to me after that and they're like, yo, your piece was actually really sick. I love that stained glass window. And I said, I'm like, man, like I'm ripping off your style doing that. Like you are the reason I made that stained glass window, because like your stuff always had these big things with like natural colors. So like those ones, like that's all resin coloring in those ones. It's taking a syringe and like putting red in all of like the gaps that go in that one. And then once I had like that baseline done, I would just like lay it down and just start like pouring different colors in and mixing and swirling and gently placing it into the pot so they wouldn't like all just mash into one color. But like I was so proud of those. Like I love those toys so much. And the fact that like DLL hit me up and was just like, these are sick. It's like, thank you. Like that was so cool that like he was willing to pay me that compliment.
I already had this one ready when you mentioned like you wouldn't consider yourself an artist. I had to pull this one up and have it on the ready where I'm like, oh, duh, come on, sorry, fuck you.
Yeah, I did a bunch. I did like a handful of those, and yeah, they were, yeah, I'm really proud of how those ones came out. I don't know if I have one down here. I might have one, but I won't go digging for it. I think I have like the first one I made, maybe. Yeah, here it is. So this was like just me trying to figure out like, can I do this? Like what's possible? So like that was the first one, kind of like messing around. And I want to say this was 2 pours, I think. So again, like you can see like the edge work here is all blue. Even when I pour, yeah, they're big. They're like messy on the back too. Like they're not pretty, but again, like it looks good from the front. And that's what's important on this. I don't need the backs to be like lab monkey tight. That's his thing. Mine, they got some edges that might cut you every now and then. But so yeah, this one I would have done like blue along all the edges. I would have poured just silver resin into like these pieces here to make those columns look better. And then like you can kind of see like on the back, It's just like a mash work of me just like taking different colors, some mixes between translucent and opaques, and just spinning them around to make that work. So yeah, I was really proud of those. All from a sweet little, I think it's from a Nightcrawler toy.
Nice, dude. Good call. You know what, man? I saw one of your really old posts on DLL Customs. I love that dude. Derek is such a great dude. Happy birthday to Derek. It was just his birthday the other day too. But you have a large piece from him on his I think it's a wrestler. And it's
I want to say it's a King Kong Bundy. So funny enough, Dove said that thing like always keep your old work. Like I legitimately hit him up out of the blue and I was like, hey man, is there any chance like you have like one of your like old wrestling pieces? And he's like, actually I do. And then he like sent me that one. So it's cool. It's like glow in the dark as well. And then I have, I think, another one he did for Clutter as well. That one is definitely in another room. Also, like, funny enough, like Crumbs would recognize this. I remember like feeling a bond with him like early on because in his hashtags, he had the name of a Moneen song. And I was just like, wait, is that a Moneen reference? And he's like, yeah, dude. And I was like, wow. Like, so Moneen would have been a band from Southwestern Ontario who were one of the greatest live bands to ever see. Like, I could go on about my music stuff, like, and how like blessed I feel to have grown up where I did, like in the amount of influential bands who have come out of where I live in music. It's just like next level to me. But I feel like everybody feels that way. What's that, sorry?
Still bump Moneen. I'm sure you're the same. At least
I went to see them play the Are We Really Happy? They played it front to back in like history, like last year. And it was just like,
it's like
man.
20 years old now.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. Like I will go and I will almost legitimately cry if they do like a Theory of Harmonial Value front to back. Like that will be the end of me. Like the end of this will be a beginning to another. Like it will be a whole like Moneen song, my feelings that will come up from that because they were just so goddamn powerful and like deserve so much more than they ever got. But
there you go.
We could go on all night.
Yeah, well, I remember just him, and I was like, "Oh, Moneen, like sweet." And we just chatted about Moneen for a while. So
that's cool. Yeah, Derek's a great dude, man. You're right, man. His pieces are very kind of architectural, and they're big and they're heavy. And I think for me, that's part of the allure of his pieces is that they're just so large, commanding pieces, dude. The thickness of that one, just like Crumb said, when you held that to its side, fucking A, dude, that thing's a beast. What a great display piece, though, too.
Yeah, and I think like so as much as that was like DLL inspired, it would also be Angry Beast inspired. So Angry Beast started making just like shelf pieces. So he had like the cactus that he made, he had the palm tree that he made, and they're just like extra cool shit to put on your resin shelves rather than just toys as like background pieces. And also like the Dare Dude figure is cool, but like the stained glass window is like the real allure to that. I feel like that's the thing that it looks like, yeah, that's cool.
For sure, man. Especially with that swirl, dude. I have some little, some other little pieces from DLL, but it's got that same great swirl in it, dude. It is it's a very, very cool look. So what's on tap for Toxic Fumes coming up, man? Directly in I mean, I think that we should probably just, after what we talked about tonight, still definitely staying in the toy scene when you can. Obviously busy with other stuff. But is there anything that you have on deck coming up that you're looking forward to besides that? Sounds like we got something coming in the General Eno show.
Yeah, so I have the General Eno show coming up. I think that's next, like not this coming weekend, but the next weekend, 22nd, I want to say it is.
Correct.
Probably am I correct? You guys probably know better than I do, which is
the future retroistic.
22nd.
Yeah,
so 22nd. So I'll have that coming. My plan is to do a resin figure that goes along with it. I've made this figure before, but it just fits with the theme of like the figure that or the like person I've created to do it. After that, like whether it comes into fruition or not, like you kind of made me think like making a Money Mantis again might be cool. I don't know how much I would like rejig it, just because also it's like I said, it's a magnet pig. Like 10 magnets in that toy. And like I lost a lot of skin off my fingertips, like gluing those things in there. Because actually that one wasn't too bad. There are some figures where like I have to just like hold the magnets in until the glue sets just because of the ways the polarities are working. But I think making that, I'm sure another show will come up that piques my interest soon enough. I'd love to see another like WTF show. I don't know if Lab Monkey and Angry Beast have that cooking. That one was a lot of fun and like right up my alley with like wrestling and weirdness.
Sure.
Yeah, shout out to Angry Beast who like really, I think it's fair to say, like really put the online shows like on the map with the first scraps. Like, dude's got a beautiful mind. I don't know if he's watching or not, but shout out to Angry Beast.
Agree, dude.
Dude, if we're gonna like shout out Angry Beast, you mentioned the shelf things earlier. That new camp, these camp stories one that he has, the little fire as well as the little ghost with it.
Yeah,
dope as all hell, and just a brilliant idea, like you were saying. But mother of fuck, now it's escaped my brain. Oh, the LM9 AB protocol. As much as it's sick that it also allows everything to swap. One of the dopest parts about it is that rejection of the polarity. When you were saying like you've got to pinch them together, it's like it's because they're fighting each other when you're putting them in the torso. But that also prevents that fucking figures bouncing other figures off the shell. Like as much as you think about it, because the polarity is fighting within the torso that you've just superglued facing each other, it typically doesn't cause that fucking launching the other homies right beside it off or pulling them towards it. Normally, you have a bunch of like your figures and LM9 and AB lined up in a row. None of that happening, man. It's that extra little like, fuck, that's beautiful for us collectors who want to be able to have our shit. You have a whole shelf of a bunch of shit, man.
I do. I have a whole shelf of stuff, and like every now and then, it's like I gently place the figure in, and then somebody's like, "Nope, I'm not being a part of this." Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I have like 2 shelves of all my resin stuff, but that's in a different room. But
before we kick you out, favorite resin artist in the scene? Put you on the spot. Have to pick one.
I have to pick one resin artist. Who's my favorite? That's a loaded question. I mean, I've already mentioned like who like people I really like. Shit, man, where's the exit button on here?
The eject.
Yeah, how do I eject myself from this? I'm probably gonna say like maybe Lab Monkey. Like I kind of have to say Lab Monkey. Like without Lab Monkey, like I would have never made a single thing aside from the fact that like his craft is beyond like next level. But like another thing I really appreciate about him is like my stuff for the most part is like basic. I have like a few pieces I put together, but like even you can see like there's so many new makers like when you watch these shows who are making these crazy intricate pieces with so much different stuff. Like the first one that jumps to my mind is like all the stuff that like Tone Twisted Tiger has like on his stuff, like General Porps's stuff. Like there's so many pieces that go into it, and like I look at that and I'm like, man, like I don't even have the bandwidth to make that many molds and hope all that stuff works out. So like big props to people who take the time to like make all those pieces. It really shows in like the end of the work that you do as well with those pieces, but it's a lot of work. So I feel like I'm still by no means like a historian on like this like whole resin thing, but I don't think maybe there was, you guys can tell me your own opinions, but I think Lab Monkey kind of like maybe started a trend with these more intricate like 10-15 mold toys for making like one thing. I'm not sure if I could think of anyone else. And again, there would have been people maybe I've missed out on who are making toys with like that many specific small pieces that go together. Do you have anyone you can think of?
It's the I'm not painting this trend. 110%. It's that why would I bother painting a shirt that could scratch when I could cast it?
Yes.
Why paint the head in human flesh tone when I could cast it in flesh tone? Like it kind of becomes that, man. I would say 100% personally, and maybe we're late to the game. I think B would agree for us. It was probably General Porpoise, but General Porpoise learned from LM9. So even then, you're kind of like, yeah, okay, where'd the intricate 10 billion fucking molds come from? Probably LM9.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there were people before them, and I apologize to anybody who maybe did come before. I can only go off like what I see and remember. I'm not perfect,
Yeah.
so sorry if I toss shade on anybody else with that. That was certainly not the intent, but
You mentioned Man or Monsters too with their original Bognars, those 5.5s. They might
Yeah.
have. Do you have one of the originals? Fuck you. I saw it on your shelf earlier, and I told myself, "Oh, it's probably mini."
no,
dude,
no. So yeah, you know what? Like, so like we got like one. This has replaceable hand. There's like 2 spots to put like extra pieces on the back here. Face, torso, legs. So like lots going on with this.
Christ Almighty! Right
Yeah,
down to the
so you
booties.
want like this one had lots of pieces going on too. So good call there. Like this had lots going on making this, but again, like Lab Monkey was one of the first people like I kind of noticed doing it. But no, I got this. Actually, I mentioned my friend earlier who like gave me my first pressure pot. Oh, the legs also attached to.
Jesus.
He actually like gave me this Bognar because he was like chill with him back in the day. He actually had these really sick figures. My friend Ben. You can't find any of his figures online, but he had a toy line he was developing, which was all based on like muscle figures and like fish. So he had like, what are those gnarly fish that have the, like, is it a lantern fish? Is that what it's called? They're like super creepy, big teeth. They have like the little like piece that comes. But anyways, he had like a figure like that. They're so cool. So yeah, Ben not only gave me my first pressure popper free, he also gave me this sweet little Bognar figure too.
Dude, there's like a dozen magnets on that piece.
Yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So 20 magnets, I think.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, that's a lot of magnets.
No wonder Glyos worked though. Like no wonder that was kind of like the next step, you know?
Yeah.
Like, fuck,
Yeah, and yeah, did such a good job with those as well. Like the little baby Bognars, I got a bunch of them too.
We got to bring you in for just a collection tour one of these days.
Yeah,
chalk out like 4 hours.
Huh? A lot of retro stuff, but I still got there's some cool resin stuff definitely kicking around in there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Toxic Fumes, you are a gentleman and a scholar. You have given us an hour and 42 minutes of your time. Thank you very much. Anything else that you'd like to get out there before we give you the boot?
No, man, I don't think so. Like, thanks to like.
See, there you go.
See, this is the tough line. Some people, you don't do the boot and they were like, I feel like I'm not part of the gang. You didn't get other people, you're kind of like, maybe they actually did have something genuinely important to say there. And I just totally booted them off.
I think you did. I think there you go.
Did we cut you off and you had something really sick to say?
I was just about to like pump your tires and you.
Oh, no, not our tires. I thought maybe it'd be like Angry Beast or LM9 or.
I was just gonna say, if there's one fucking trigger for crumbs, it's when people start saying, "Just want to thank you guys." It's like, nope, none of that. We don't want any of that. What a great dude, though, man. What's really cool, I think, about that is, like I said before, dude, where we're at now, we can all look back and kind of see, who artists have turned out to be and kind of where they're at now. And the history that he has with a lot of them, dude. He had some really great teachers. But I think it's also really cool, dude, that he's just, he definitely has other stuff going on, but he wants to stay connected in some way. And the shows are a very good way to do that,
Very busy man, dude. What I think I loved the most about this interview is we didn't talk a whole lot about like, what resin do you use? What paints do you use? What silicone? It was a little bit more about kind of just like being in the scene, navigating that time. I think one of the things a lot of us actually fear in general, and that includes yourself, all of us, man, we fear the hyperfixation. Just like how, like, admittedly, like there's those certain people that like they take one hit of crack and they do crack now every day from the moment they wake up. For some of us, like if we start working on a paint project, like I know myself personally, I've even heard Burial Boba talk about it before. It's in your brain now. your wife or your partner or somebody at work might be talking to you, and at the back of your brain, all you're thinking is like, oh, you know, when I get home, if I just do this, and if I hope I get a chance, I'm gonna pull out of the pressure pot, and then I'm actually gonna put that syringe of the black along all those edges, and like he even said, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna run down to the basement for a second, but it would actually be his partner would change the channel because it's actually gonna be an hour and a half. It's like, dang man, ooh, I love to hear that. Dre finished the head sculpt while watching.
Yeah, straight up, man. But yeah, I agree, dude. Where it can just, you know, when you get fixated on something, it can just kind of take over until it's done. And that is the story of my toy room. It's just a never-ending thing, you know. But thanks again to Toxic Fumes, dude. That was some really good insight on, dude. How about I mean, okay, right? Okay, right? Okay, right? Okay. Like it's one of those things where you say it and then you have both of them and you're like, huh,
yeah,
that's cool.
I remember even when they posted about getting the forecaster mold from Green Plastic Tunners, they're kind of being like, whose dick do you suck to get that? Like what's going on here? Like people don't often just toss molds around. You got Green Plastic Tunnels toss into a forecaster mold. It's like, okay.
But you know what's funny, dude? It's like that just that little nugget of information to a collector and to somebody who collects stuff, to hear something like that, you're just like, whoa, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's interesting to hear that where it's just so casual. And you know, he's not braggadocious or boastful on the people that he's learned from or the people that he hangs out with. But for collectors and other artists in the community, you're just like, holy shit, dude, that's like, you know, you're not hanging out with just some dude who's just doing it, just he wants to try something out. I mean, you're hanging out and dealing with people who really know what the fuck they're doing. And I think it comes out in his work as well, dude. I mean, everything that I have from him is super clean. It's a bummer that E2K isn't around anymore. They had some toxic fume pieces that I actually got at insanely stupid good prices that have no business being as cheap as they are. But his price point is excellent, dude. I mean, it's not like he's just trying to figure things out. He knows what's up, you know. It's good to see that he's sticking around, dude. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, it's just navigating that time, dude. Speaking of navigating that time, we're at like 10 minutes too. You got some unboxings or anything to show off on your side there?
You know, the one thing, you know, maybe I'll save the giveaways that we got from Assembly Required. Actually, Pocket Salsa sent me a box of stuff that he had gathered. We'll get into that next week, dude, because it's quite a few things. It's not like just one thing. The one piece that I do have to share, though, is a piece that from Rutro Toys, from our buddy old Dookie. He had posted this bad boy. I'll take it out of the package here in a second, but this one actually has some really cool glow or UV on it. But this is from the boy Dookie at Rutro Toys. There's an Etsy shop, I believe, is what that is. But the piece itself is a Bosk, and it's got this really cool, like teal wash on it. Is the best way that I can say it. But dude, it is just it's a killer piece, man. I love it. It looks even better when it's got the glow going with it. But this is a, you know, just a static 3.75 painted up, obviously. His paint work on the arms is really, really good. You can really see the detail and kind of the texture in the arms there, which is awesome. But you know, Dookie, man, that's a dude. He's been around, man. That's a really fun online shop to jump into. If you haven't been in there and you're looking for something at a really solid price point, and you want to get something either loose or carded, check out Rutro Toys on Etsy, or Dookie McFart Sniffle on Instagram. I know, right? It's
good luck forgetting that name, man.
You are not forgetting that name, but it's just it's a good one, man. Cool Cat, what's up, dude? I saw you didn't like my comment about mushrooms earlier, so sorry that I don't enjoy mushrooms.
No, I'm with you too, man. Fuck mushrooms. And what's also funny is
mushrooms, right? Fuck mushrooms. You know what was so funny, dude, is when he was saying the fucking he worked at Quiznos. And then I think FKD said, yeah, but they had the GOAT advertise marketing scheme, right? Remember that little weird puppet type thing that they had that just it was weird. It was a weird thing, dude. It made zero sense at all. Anyways.
I don't even know why. If I'm being totally honest, like I've never even been a big sub person, but something pissed me off about Quiznos the moment they showed up in my town, and I remember being 4 and 8. I remember just that alone ticked me off. And I have no reason to be ticked off. Like I said, I wasn't going around buying subs. It wasn't like I was like the sub guy, but there was just something about it where I was like, what the fuck do you mean 4 and 8? 6 and 12, bitch. What are we talking about?
You're talking the sandwich size? I didn't see,
Yeah.
dude. Quiznos hasn't been around here in fucking years, bro. I want to say it's been a decade since I didn't know that those things were still on the planet. Honestly, I thought they were done. They were a popular here for a minute, and now, I mean, God, dude, we have so many sandwich places
when
in town.
When Toxic Fumes Toys said that he ate there last year and it sucked, I could honestly, I could picture the stale bun. I could just picture just like the world's oldest bun.
Dude, you know what? When he said that he ate there a year ago, I'm thinking, first thing I thought was, wait, are we still talking about Quiznos? What do you mean you ate there a year ago? How did you do that? Oh man, Dre has some hate for Quiznos multiple times. Quiznos sucks and always did. I can't disagree with you, my friend, and I think that's the majority of the world, or they'd still be around. The commercials, that's what I'm talking about. The commercials were bizarre. They were weird. It was like anybody who's from California, if you remember the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk commercials back in the day. Weird. A family of like weird Bigfoots on there. What was that? That was so weird. But it was catchy. So anyways, that was my share for tonight, dude. What do you have? Do you have anything in there? I see you're busy at the moment. I'll keep talking. The giveaways that we'll do next week, man. Whoever, I know that this box is full of great stuff from people. Porpoise has a piece in there that I'm looking at right now. Space Punk Toys has some stuff in there. Salsa has some stuff in there.
Nice to see Salsa back this morning, man.
Bro, what happened? So somebody hit me up the other day and said, hey, what's up with Salsa? And I'm like, yo, what's up with Salsa? So I go to look for his account and his account's gone. I'm like, what the fuck?
We're also a bunch of gossip grannies. I hit up my buddy Mecha Ducky this afternoon because Mecha Ducky's right on that fringe. I was kind of like, because I check on my account, I'm like, Pocket Salsa is not showing up. Go over to the toy account, I'm like, it's one thing if somebody blocks me. It's usually pretty strange when from the toy account I can't pull them up. I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
How did both me and B piss you off? That you've maybe blocked. So then I'm like, yo, Mecha Ducky, homie, you're third party enough. Do you mind checking that? And he's like, I think they're gone, bro. And then of course, what's funny is Mecha Ducky is a homie as well. So he is then kind of just like, everything good. Then they're kind of like, I don't fucking know at the time, man. That's what gets me worried when this shit happens. What's so funny is even this afternoon he hit me up. He must have ended up seeing that Pocket ended up posting. He sends me the post even being like, things seem like Jesus fuck, man. We're like a little neighborhood of fucking people.
And that's the thing, dude. It's like once somebody is such a has been around and is so consistent as Salsa is, and then they're just gone, you start to wonder what the fuck, what just happened, but yeah, glad he's back. That's great. Salsa needs to be here. Did you have any tonight?
Oh yeah, and you know what? This one's interesting because I do feel like there's like a weird like overlap. I'm gonna be trying to be quick with it, but basically, DNS and Jazzwiz ended up actually sending a couple things in a box over. So one of the things that I find fucking dope is this guy here, one of the original Diner tree trunk monsters, which I never previously owned before. And what I thought was kind of funny is I only know about this guy because of seeing it from one of the first ever toys I grabbed from Toxic Fumes Toys, which was actually one of his Swamp Things. And then it's so sick to actually see, like, I knew he had grown this guy up and made him bigger, But what a fucking difference, man, between the two of them. So to like actually see like the OG and be able to actually kind of be like, oh fuck yeah, like that's actually like what the OG looked like. And then one of the other things that they ended up popping in there was one of these guys from a series called Socket Poppers. And where I find this funny is he's also like a Swamp Thing ripoff. I would have talked about him in one of those when I did that little Swamp bootleg history thing. But what I find funny is just like how the LM9 and AB protocol, like that swapping of parts, it's just jokes to me that of course I ended up getting like a socket popper or a connector in that same week, man, where it's like, yeah, that's part of the fun. The whole toy line was literally sold on this idea of being able to swap and connect all these different pieces from the toy line. And like there's even weird fun facts where it's like if you took like all of the connectors and you spent like a lifetime, you would only be able to create like X amount. There's weird fun facts on like all the different combos you can make with all 16 of these. What's really fucking sick, man, and what I find fucking jokes is in like the bootleg scene, every now and then I do like seeing like those OG bootlegs. And of course, Death and Strawberries normally does like original sculpts, but this is actually like this fucking hilarious Mexican Batman that he has.
Dude.
That's oddly just anorexic and hollow as all shit.
I was gonna say, bro, looks like he got ran over, and I think that's the best part of it, dude. Look how flat he is.
Looks like the bad guy at the end of Roger Rabbit when he's trying to fucking walk towards them and he's like a sheet of paper. Just the fucking most, and honestly, his face is fucking hilarious, man. There's something so awkward about his little face. So he ended up actually sending me a black and white one of those dudes and a fucking
that's awesome.
Black one, man.
Yeah.
But just a fucking hilarious piece, dude.
That is cool.
Yeah. Those are
Did you say DNS made that?
So yeah, Death and Strawberries. And actually, you know what, I should show this off as well. Because like some of you might be able to see, I've got one hanging on the wall next to my Batman shelf over here somewhere. I can't get the mirror. There it is somewhere. So anyways, but it stands on this fucking base as well, man. So you've got like this like bat signal fucking resin cast as well.
Great idea.
That the dude just ends up standing in.
Yeah.
Fucking
Look at that. Dre says that the ghoul is ABLM9 magnet protocol.
Yeah. So actually,
didn't even mean to do it by purpose, but wow. You know what, dude? That was a great point that you were talking about with magnets too. You know what I realized about that piece, dude? The arms on that piece actually, I think, came from an LM9 piece that he got. One of his very first LM9 pieces that he got. I believe those arms. Yeah. The hands, I should say. Yeah. Those were LM9 piece back in the day that he had actually posted. So that was cool to see those pop back up again. But you're right, dude. As as a collector, man, and having stuff put together or side by side, it makes a hell of a difference, dude. I can't even explain how many pieces that I have where I can't display them because exactly what you're talking about, where the figure on its own is great, dude. You know what I mean? The magnets are strong and all that. The problem with that is when you line them up next to one and they don't jive like that, they're still really good and strong magnets. And you can tell because this fucking force field comes around and blows everything away. Even in these kind of cases, right? You're like, man, what the fuck? Hey, check this out that I did, dude. I forgot to share this with you. If anybody collects Healy stuff, his pieces of 3.75s usually come in those black boxes and they're separate from the piece when they come in the box. I never display them in those boxes. Now, he doesn't use magnetic articulation, but I started displaying the 3.75s in the boxes.
That's so sharp.
Dude, it does, right? It looks super clean. I love it. It's got the Healy made logo on there. It's very, very clean, dude. I can't believe it took me 5 years to start doing that, but fucking here we are.
It reminds me of the OG cases that dropped for the Star Wars Kenners. How they would sit like in almost like those like carry cases.
Yes.
And there was all the names at the bottom of the carry. Fuck, that's fresh.
And the slots. And that's the feeling that I get from that is like those slots. But the cool thing is like the thickness of them, it doesn't impede with the
glass.
the plexiglass at all. I mean, it fits in like super great, dude. Even the Babas over here, I think may fit in there. The wrestlers over here, I'm cased out on these, man. Like I need another case because I have 5 extra wrestlers, not extra, but 5 more wrestlers that need to go in this case that aren't going to fit unless I can fit them in something like this. The problem is you can see like some of these figures like right here. There's no way that those are going to fit in some of those boxes.
Yeah.
The way that the stances and stuff. But still, dude, I think it's just, fucking A, bro. Like I could seriously talk for a week straight about how cool Healy is, but that's just another little thing as far as display goes. I think that's right. I mean, that's him, right? Sleek, clean, crisp, black, silver on black. It's something.
You're saying that as you have a shelf of Babas beside you.
I love it.
He's sleek, he's clean, all black, colorful fucking Babas.
Yeah, and don't forget about this over here, which is actually his favorite figure to pull and pour, because I think he gets so much variation out of those things, dude. It truly is wild shit every time he pours those, which is cool.
Yeah, you get to step away from the OCD brain for a minute and just give up a little bit of the control to the fucking casting gods.
Dude, you're right, because that's exactly what he told me before when he was making those. He was sending me pictures of these, like, hey, check out the marble on these. And he said that exactly that, dude. He poured them in one day, and the resin gods were with him that day, and shit was working. And so he just kept going.
And I was also going to add, though, and I think Vomit would agree with this. Anybody who's done a paint pour would agree with this. You're still wanting a bit of control. As weird as this sounds, and Vomit especially will probably get this, there's this weirdness where you're looking at it and you go, it's not right. It can still happen as much as like, but it can also be a flex. Like I bet you with Healy made the amount he's poured, as much as they're kind of like, yeah, it allows me to kind of give up control. It's like, yeah, but you also kind of know, like, it might be sick if you do this clear and you just use a needle to pin just a pin of blue, and if it will work well with this color, like you are still utilizing some of your fucking expertise and knowledge.
Yeah, for sure, man. And another thing that I think really works for him too is a lot of his pieces that he posts where you're just like, holy shit, man, are variations of characters that he's made. There are commissions, and he's very open about putting commissions on there. Is that I think the people that are buying and collecting those have really fucking good taste in color palettes and schemes. And so when he gets these requests, I mean, I've gotten customs for him before, and he's very into getting involved and giving you suggestions and whatnot. But you can tell that some of the people that are collecting his stuff have really great taste. And then it really comes out in his pieces because they're what the fuck, dude? They are what they are. You know what I mean?
Super huge digression. I don't know if any of you can tell, the last like 10 minutes, we're at this point in Toronto now where it gets warm enough that like the garbage gets hot and you get this hot, steamy garbage smell. I've been sitting here for like 10 minutes being like, the fuck is that smell? It just smells like fucking boiling garbage.
Over there? I swear to God, it was just snowing over there recently, right? Now you're smelling hot garbage?
Maybe it's just maybe I need to do something. Maybe my pH is off. Who knows? Jesus.
Oh, man. Who knows, man?
You want to spin for this wheel for that sick ass fucking Screaming Donut piece?
Yeah. Let's show that real quick, dude, and then I'll show a couple other little small things that it came with. The Visitors on the Table, or Death Animos Studios. That is the Death Scream Donut.
I think we've even talked about this before, and this is what blows my mind. Amazing sculpt, but with a fan base of like 500. I don't understand sometimes. And let's be honest, I'm looking at Instagram. I'm not looking at their Facebook. But like, that's a full-on vinyl. And it seems like they have several vinyls. Fucking super terrible.
Oh, that's what it was. But yeah, dude, you're right. Vinyl, and it's even got that little, it's got kind of like a pink and white marble right there, which is very cool.
Well, and okay, so that's a sick plug, man. And typically when like you're making the vinyls, right, it's got to be pulled from somewhere, and you're gonna patch up that plug with something. It's kind of crazy that they just have like that perfectly fucking fitting piece right there.
Yeah, lots of detail in there. You get the little that there. This is the box for the Death Scream donut. It's great. The packaging is like super pro. You get this little bag. I'm not going to open this because it is sealed up with this little with the little carabiner clip there, but there's obviously some goodies inside there, which is very cool. Super detailed, man, on the packaging. I'll even send you that thing right there that they put on there for a giveaway. And then the large oversized stickers, which are very cool. Visitors on the Table, Death Anima Studio. Please follow them. The link is in our bio. You can collect on that, or in our last post. You can check those out. And look at their account. It's great. I think they got less than I want to say less than 600, which is
590, which is absolutely just ridiculous.
It is. Great people. Give them a follow, please. We are spinning. Let's talk about this giveaway real quick, dude. Let me pull up my notes here on the sandwiches. Thank you, everybody who replied to the question about sandwiches. There was some amazing answers on there. You're on mute.
Fuck. We made it this far in. I love how you have actual notes on the sandwiches.
Sandwich notes, dude. I'm telling you, my life has been consumed by sandwiches for the last week or so. But it's a great conversation, dude. I brought it into the workplace and started asking people like, hey, give me a Sammy, dude. What's your favorite Sammy? Great answers all around.
Do 2 pieces of pizza slapped together count as a sandwich? I was wondering that earlier.
Well, see, and here's where it gets crazy, right? Is we start talking about sandwiches. Hurt and I went down so many different fucking paths on what are we talking about? So, and here's one that I thought of that really kind of threw me for a loop a little bit. We started talking about, so what's determining, is it a sandwich? Is it the shape of the bun, right? It could be, because we excluded burgers. So we said burgers and chicken sandwiches, that's got to be something else. And then I started thinking, and we started talking about sandwiches, and, I said bologna sandwich. And I said, well, think about this. Is a bologna sandwich a hot dog in a different shape? It kind of is. I mean, so you can really go a bunch of different ways, but I mean, the sandwich whole rabbit hole, yeah, straight up, man. It was open face roast beef smashed potatoes tonight.
Oh, that's one thing I was wondering earlier too. What the hell does open-faced mean? I didn't understand that.
Sandwich? Like if you had a roll and it was open and you put everything on side and served it like that, open face.
How do you eat that? Do you just eat it like it's a piece?
You could cut it with a fork and eat it like that as a sandwich and bread, or you could be just a bad motherfucker and fold it up and just and try to consume it that way. Now I'm not making fun of you here, and we were talking about sandwiches before the show. You were unfamiliar with a French dip.
Yeah.
And when we were talking, dude, I gotta say that French dip was definitely in my top 3. There's a French beef, a Hofbrau, out in Oakland. I don't think it's there anymore, but it used to be at the A's Stadium, and they had the most amazing French dips fucking ever on the face of the earth.
What makes it a French dip? Is it dipped in that weird bowl of things that you showed?
Yes, it's now. So here's where we can kind of you can really start getting into what kind of French dip do you like? Okay, what kind of bread is it on? That's definitely going to matter, right? But also the kind of au jus. The au jus, now I told you, is kind of like beef broth. However, there's a place in Fairfield, which is by me, called Joe's. Joe's has a French dip there that's fucking amazing. This dude goes through about 40 or 50 whole roast beefs by noon every single day, and the au jus is thicker like a gravy. Now, if you're a French dip snob, you know that is above and beyond, and it's great. It's thicker than the broth. It's almost a full-on gravy, but not quite. It's very good.
So what's crazy is, for some reason, all week I've been craving and telling myself not to make a grilled cheese with a side of gravy to pour on top of it afterwards.
Do you do that? That sounds great.
Oh, hell yeah. It just melts over the bread. And you don't use American cheese for those ones, though. You have to use brick cheese. So it's extra. Anyways.
Hey, I get you. What is your favorite sandwich? If you had to go with one.
Okay, so then not gravy. I would actually say a pizza sandwich, where essentially you're still making a grilled cheese, but generally, let's say you make spaghetti the night before and you have some leftover spaghetti sauce. You put that on top of the cheese before you close it up, and then it's basically just almost like a panzerotti or like a pizza bun.
Porpoise, just relax. Hot dogs are not sandwiches. I brought it up as a talking point. No one's accusing hot dogs of being sandwiches. Just relax on the hot dog.
And not to mention, you're the fucking whack job putting pickles and peanut butter together, sir. And you have children. You can't be teaching them that. Sorry, it just dawned on me. You're not even just ruining your life. You're ruining theirs too.
Dude, some of the comments were so good. And you're right, dude. I'll be honest. There were some sandwiches on there where there are people getting really detailed. I'm like, yeah. Then they throw a running ingredient in there. I'm just like, you sick ass. You screwed it up. You screwed it up. God. Ugh. If a hot dog is a sandwich, Walmart is a luxury department store. I am the beholder, right? For some people, it is. I don't know. I don't think a hot dog is a sandwich. I've heard that argument before if we're talking about sandwiches, but meat with no origin story. That is the truth. So God, dude, there were so many. So here's the thing, dude. So this is what number did we get up to tonight?
46.
So we didn't do it. So we were going to try to get to 60 to give a whole bunch of other shit, which is fine. So we'll just do the visitors on the table giveaway, which is very cool because that's more than one thing. People are going to be thrilled with that. We'll save the other stuff for another night. But some of these sandwiches, dude, I mean, I don't know how, obviously we can't go through every one, but I mean, there were some amazing things. FKD Toys, I have no idea what any of that is, but it looks very, very good. Death and Strawberries, toasted ciabatta bread, sharp cheddar cheese, olive oil, mayo, and scrambled eggs. Interesting. Lots of bagel sandwiches. I don't know if you noticed that. Lots of everything bagel sandwiches, also acceptable.
Did notice a lot of bagel sandwiches. Anybody who put eggs on theirs, it was hard for me not to just go like, damn, okay, so you do sandwiches for breakfast. Again, I really couldn't make sense of a lot of this.
So good, dude. Jeva, this is what I thought was interesting too, dude. We have so many people watching from all over the world. Jevaho replied with a Belgian classic called a Smos, S-M-O-S, mayo salad. Now, when you say salad on a sandwich, I'm assuming lettuce. Mayo salad, ham, boiled egg, grated carrot, hold the tomatoes. So hold the tomatoes. Good one. Barrio Boba says there's a sandwich in every beer. So he's got beers going on as his sandwiches, which is good. Philly cheesesteak was a hot one. Hot browns. What is that? This is from Hoodlum Toys. An open-faced sandwich of turkey breast and bacon covered in creamy Mornay sauce, then broiled. Wow.
Maybe they meant hash browns. Maybe their phone corrected it. Maybe hot browns are hash browns. I have no idea.
That would be great. Von Fake Name had a great answer. All his sandwiches all he needs to know about sandwiches he learned from Elvis. Peanut butter and bacon for breakfast. BLT for lunch. Dinner is going to be a breakfast sandwich with bacon and egg and cheese. Dessert was a different sandwich.
I think Jazz Wizard's sandwich choice was still probably the cringiest of them all.
It was. Were you surprised by that?
No. For some reason, though, I just kept on picturing the oily hair. Just the amount of hair and sweat and oil, I was like, this is not a good sandwich.
Dude, Dre with a great answer. Thinly sliced prosciutto, buffalo mozzarella, arugula, tomato, sauteed onions, all in betwixt focaccia bread on a panini press. You're filthy. That sounds very good. That sounds very good. God, dude, there's some greasy brickyard. Smoked anything on some basic bread. Smoked brisket, pork, chicken. Usually once a summer I smoke bologna and it's delicious. Also do a good smoked meatloaf.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the homie that smokes it all. Who smokes a meatloaf? What are we talking about?
That sounds amazing. That sounds amazing, dude. I've seen some of those barbecue shows and those people get fucking wild. Meatloaf, I fucking hate it, bro. I despise it. I don't know what it is. I don't like meatloaf. If it was smoked, maybe. Plastic vomit, crunchy peanut butter with nacho cheese Doritos on it and white bread, taking it back to the old school, dude. I love it. That is great. There is so Hurt and I were just kind of kicking around some bullshit, right? And we were like, dude, if we did a toy show, wouldn't it be great? And I could totally make this fucking work because I know someone who's a chef and has a catering business, and they'd be all over this because they're a super stoner. Making sandwiches like that and basically having old school sandwiches like that. Grilled cheese, peanut butter and jelly, Capri Sun, handy snacks. Give me some fucking fruit snacks. Give me some fucking, something like that. 1 second.
I honestly didn't know that he was actually looking to be 1 second. I thought he was actually just saying 1 second. But even though, normally somebody says that and you expect them to be like, oh yeah, no problem, man. I still didn't quite clue in they needed a moment.
No, sorry, dude. I'm using my son's computer, and I think he's getting a call through his computer somehow. So I'm yelling at him down the hallway that
their OnlyFans is popping off.
I don't know what it is. I'm old. I don't know how fucking computers work. But anyways, back to the sandwiches. Back to more important stuff. Dude, there was one on here that I saw that looked so fucking good. 8-Bit Mike says Earl of Sandwich located nearby. Get an Earl's Club. Not sure what that is. Tycho's Tacos, ham and cheese with mustard and mayo on Dutch Crunch. Yes. Oh, chicken salad sandwich. Great choice. Ordinary Toys again with a knuckle sandwich. Pickman's Vinyls, the simplicity of a basic brisket sandwich. The bread doesn't matter. It's just a vehicle for the slow smoked, salt and pepper crusted goodness of masterfully barbecued Texas brisket. Whew. Can't disagree with that. Micah, I am sorry, bro. Corned beef hash and pastrami. I can't fucking do it, man. I wish I could. I can't.
Fuck is corned beef, by the way? A couple of you dropped that. What is fucking corned beef?
Have you ever had corned beef hash? Obviously not.
I'll Google it after. I think I'll have to see a picture.
Yeah, it's Kajiki Toys, dude. He fucking got me with this one. PB&J. Now, this is what I'm talking about. This dude should win just for this fucking answer right here. Creamy Jif natural peanut butter. Organic Smucker strawberry preserves. Both thick as fuck on fluffy white Texas toast. Number 2, a proper Philly cheesesteak with cheese whiz and no onions. Okay, I'll disagree a little bit with those ingredients, but hey, you can't go wrong with the cheesesteak. And number 3, because I grew up in a trailer in the woods, chip chopped ham. It's a Pittsburgh thing with American cheese and a little yellow mustard on white bread or potato bread if you're trying to church it up a bit. Oh, man. Club sandwich again. Bacon and egg sandwich, another great one. Super Terrible Toys lox with chive cream cheese on a toasted everything bagel. Great one. My Little Fluffle Monte Cristo, another great one. Shotgun Karaoke from up in Finland. Gave us some insight to the Finland cuisine. Classic ham and cheese, possibly with blue cheese. You're sick. Hijacked fat crusty bread, shitloads of butter, caramelized onions, strips of filet steak, chopped bits of crispy bacon. God damn it, that sounds good. Lynn the Rat Boy says Vegemite, so you're excluded. Worst villain ever. Here's another great answer, dude. Grilled cheese. Now, this is where we get technical. I'm a person who appreciates simplicity with the crafted nuance to push the limits. Grilled cheese is no less or more than grilled cheese between the layers. When you add tomatoes, it becomes a melt, not an adult grilled cheese. I prefer a more artisanal take with an artisanal bakery made sourdough, buttered and grilled to a toasted golden outside with plenty of layers of delicious cheese, deli cheese inside, maybe some Havarti and mozzarella. See, this is what I'm talking about. Then I dip that bitch in ketchup. Why'd you ruin a great sandwich by dipping it in ketchup like that? The tomato basil soup, I agree with that all day, which technically I guess you could say is a form of ketchup, but ketchup, I gotta pass on that.
Should we spin this wheel to see who gets this rat ass Death Anima Studio?
I suppose if we're done talking about sandwiches for 20 minutes, if 20 minutes is enough, we'll spin the fucking wheel. Let's spin this fucking wheel, dude, straight up. Good luck, everybody. God, 140 comments on that. Interesting. Here we go. For the
This might have been one of the more popular conversational topics in the last bit.
Straight up. Number 12.
Number 12. Who's number 12? Boom, boom, boom. I've got a list here. It's going to be Breezy Brickyard.
Breezy Brickyard. I think I just read that one. Yeah. Smoked anything on some basic bread. Hey.
Smoked anything.
Meatloaf.
Oh, that right. The meatloaf, dude. Yo, so fun meatloaf fact, man. Growing up, I remember my brother letting me know right off the hop, one of the first CDs I ever had was Aqua, and they were like, damn, Aqua is for losers. So, of course, I'm out and about with my folks, and we're at the CD store, and I see the most badass cover ever, Bat Out of Hell 2. And I think to myself, oh, this is going to be fucking heavy. And I asked my parents, can we listen to this on the ride home? First song on Bat Out of Hell 2, I would do anything for love, but I won't do that. Do you know how disappointed I was to get an album of somebody on a fucking motorcycle, fucking dragon wrapped around this tower? He's like coming at it, and I would do anything. I was like, what the ball sack, man? Yeah. And I also know you looked so lost during that Monine conversation earlier, but probably one of like the first shows I ever saw in my life was a basement show of Monine, man. One of those things. I remember my brother being like, one of his buddies was a promoter in town. He ended up bringing a couple bands in. Nobody was showing the fuck up. My brother saw me on my way home, walking home from work, and he was like, yo, get the fuck in the car. You're coming to this show. Give us your $6. Suddenly you've got fucking Kenny from Monine doing circles on the floor, screaming around, making no sense.
Yeah, you're right, dude. I have no clue who that band is. At all, but obviously, I mean, you know a lot about them. Toxic Fume knows about them. DLL Custom obviously has referenced them in post. I'm the one who's in the fucking dark over here, so I'm an idiot on that one. But you're right, dude. You guys said that, and I'm just like, who the fuck is that? What kind of music is that? I don't even know.
It would probably be classified as like that, like emo. When emo was first coming out, and it wasn't a bad thing to be considered emo, probably in that genre. Maybe closer to like pop punk, post-hardcore, I guess, modernly. Anyways, what a night, man.
It was a very big night. It was a good show, man. We had some really good stuff. I'm looking at the schedule for next week.
Yes.
Hickman's Vinyls will be joining us.
Oh, really? I must somehow slept on that one. I thought it was somebody else.
He's got a giveaway for us, actually. That he wants to get out in the world. So we're going to talk to him and see what's going on in their world, plus do a giveaway. The week after that is going to be intense for you and I, my friend. I don't know what we're going to do. We have 2 shows to cover. We have the Future Retroistic show, and we have General Enos. And luckily for us, both shows, I think, are just right around 30 or under artists. Both of those shows will be happening the weekend before. That's cool. Then, dude, the lineup looks like this for April, man. Feral Foundry, Acid 9 Toys, Robot Resurrection. I mean, it's going to be April is going to be a fun month. We're going to close out March very strong, which is good. Von Fake Name, disagree. You never use ketchup as a substitute for tomato soup.
I just wanted to do one last share here. For anybody who didn't get a chance earlier, I'm going to share the link again for Visitors on the Table. Make sure that you end up heading over to their page, check it out. They do a whole bunch of pieces. It's not even just the larger vinyl that B showed off earlier. This is actually their new piece. It's actually 2 pieces in one. Again, where like the plug opening would normally be, they've actually got like a mouth that's been
nice.
sculpted in. And then, I actually kind of forgot about these, but what a brilliant idea when they ended up fucking doing this, man.
Oh, man, that's good.
This was such a fucking neat idea. Layering the paper onto the mold and using the wooden buck. Just to really...
Look at that, dude.
Yeah, so it would have been from basically like putting layers upon layers upon layers of paper and making them wet and then basically forming over that buck.
Interesting.
That's right. Like, it's an interesting artist. Dude, even these fucking little Fruit Loop dudes.
Dude, they sent me some of those. Those are fucking awesome, dude. Those are great.
It's an interesting...
Oh, yes.
The marshmallow dudes that also with the chocolate. Interesting stuff, man.
Yeah. And they're great, dude. The little marshmallow guy, they sent me a little prototype of that guy. And it's super cool, man. Really detailed stuff, really smooth. They're great, dude. It's a very, very cool account. Please give them a follow. Cool stuff. Vinyl stuff, resin stuff. The packaging, I can't say enough about that, is very, very pro, man. The boxes, the bags, it's little details like that sometimes make all the difference as far as, to the person buying it when they open up the package. It also came with these little cards, dude. Check those out of the characters that they're making. Damn.
Yeah, they're next level. They've really ironed things out.
Dude, can you show they did a picture of us that I'm going to ask them if we can use. I sent that to you. Or if you check in our messages from them on the toy account, you'll see a picture that they made of you and I think it's fucking great, dude. The more I look at it, the more little details that you see, and I'm just like, dude, they so killed this. I 100% want to make this into a sticker. Look at that, dude.
They're funny dudes.
The light. It's got my my glow figures behind us, which is probably the dark rainbow stuff. You're licking a figure. You got a little Swampy down there by you. The mustache. That is fucking awesome, dude. I love that. It's even got my fake chain on there from Plastic Vomit, dude. That is sick. That's awesome, man. Great job.
Shining a bunch of UV. Yeah.
Awesome.
Fucking neat, man. That's jokes.
Great show tonight, dude. We got a lot of info in there. We finally checked Toxic Fumes off the list, man. That was on the want list big time.
We could have gone on forever, dude. Super Terrible Toys. That was Death Studios that ended up doing that. The Visitors on the Table.
Yeah. Yep.
And dude, Toxic Fumes Toys is an absolute gem. I did find it kind of comical going back watching like their interview with DKE. They've got like a Canadian toy shelf. I've got a Canadian toy shelf. It was just one of those things where I was just kind of like, hell yeah, man. Like, I'm glad that's like a thing that you gotta have the Cat Boys.
Yeah, I agree, dude. And I think what's so cool about Toxic Fumes is the dude is so humble about it. Like, he doesn't, and it's funny, dude. And I think I come across that a lot where I wish sometimes these artists could see it from a collector's point of view, who's not making anything, who's just a fan. And when you hear somebody who's, I don't want to say they're oblivious to what they're a part of, but they're very humble about being part of this amazing scene. And you're just like, wow, dude, you were actually part of that Toronto toy collective. And it to them, it's just like, yeah, it's just, it was a thing that we did. And it's just like, but when you look back at that and you see the people that were in that, you're like, holy shit, dude, Angry Beast, Lab Monkey 9. I mean, there's just, it's great, dude. It's cool, man. And he's such a humble, nice dude. You know what I mean? I knew for a fact that it was going to be a good episode because you know why? Hurt Toys tuned in and he said, I want to see Toxic Fumes. If it's somebody that Hurt wants to see that bad,
Damn.
he's got to be good.
There it is, man.
There
Well,
it is.
homie, we're at the 2.5 hour mark. I think we let these yahoos go home.
Yahoos. Perfect. See you next week.
See you next week, dudes.